Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream for Game Week 30. It has been a while, a couple of weeks since the last live stream. I will be on holiday tomorrow, but the plan is to get the main content out for FPL and UCL Fantasy. And of course, we've got this stream to tackle first and a lot to discuss. I might be rolling the transfer in the end, but if I were to make a move, it's likely going to be in the defense. I'll show you some updated transfer plans later, but most of it was discussed in my videos and podcasts. I did 2 team selections, 2 transfer tips, and also 2 wildcard videos, and also an FPL challenge piece of content yesterday showing my team. And if you want to ask anything about Fantasy Challenge, be free or feel free to do so in this stream, but of course the main focus will be on FPL. As always, I'm going to get straight into your questions, and later in this stream I'll be gifting 5 to 10 memberships for viewers. It'll be randomly allocated. I click a button and then people watching will be gifted some memberships for an entire month. The Fantasy Football Lad says, "Hey Dylan, how's life treating you? All good? What about you?" Hopefully that is the case. The Fantasy Football Lad also says, "My team at the moment is Areola, Dubravka, Saliba, Gabriel, Zabani, Senesi, Taylor, Son, Saka, Foden, Bowen, Palmer, Haaland, Watkins, Solanke. One transfer with 0.1 million in the bank. Thank you as always." It's a good team. I'm quite happy with it. So looking at your defence, I think it looks quite shaky this week because you've got Senesi out, Zabani is okay against Everton, and you've got 2 Arsenal defenders away to Man City and Taylor away to Chelsea. So yeah, I think the defence is what needs bolstering, but you're in a difficult predicament where Zabani, Senesi, Saliba and Gabriel are all useful for Game Week 34 and they have good fixtures beforehand, but because Senesi is unavailable and we don't know when he'll return yet, I think he's the one to sacrifice, and you could go to a Connor Bradley, a Gusto or an 8 Nuri. I think that's probably what you want to go for. Maybe even Lascelles, but it all depends on your Game Week 34 strategy. If you are free hitting in 34, I'd probably just go for Gusto, but if you don't have the free hit and you want to bolster your double Game Week prospects, that's where I would consider an 8 Nuri or a Connor Bradley. Saka update. Arteta said in his press conference yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, I think it was yesterday, he said that Saka, Gabriel and Martinelli all have a chance of featuring, but I'm not going to lie to you, whenever Arteta says something in a press conference, I kind of think the opposite. So when he says a player is going to be out or he's very unlikely to play, I kind of have a feeling he will play. But if he says the opposite and he seems quite confident but he doesn't say it with certainty, I don't know what to think, because even earlier this season he said something similar about Saka against Man City in the reverse fixture, and in the end he didn't play. But I think Saka should be fine, he should play, and Arteta was quite confident in his press conference, but as we've seen this season, it doesn't really mean much. I replaced him with Rashford. Fair enough. I mean, Rashford could be quite useful from Game Week 35 onwards, and even in these so-called difficult games, Rashford has a great record against the Big Six, and he does face some of them very soon. But yeah, for me, Saka is definitely a much better option, and I would reverse the transfer if possible in Game Week 31. Cylindra says, "Hey Dylan, would you sell Kirkes or Doughty to Gusto, Lascelles, or which are the good defender?" So you're free hitting in 34. Yeah, in that case, I'd go for Gusto, because you've got him in place for Game Week 35 onwards with 2 doubles for Chelsea, and he's got good fixtures beforehand. In 34, you free him out. Yeah, Gusto's the one to buy for me, and I'd sell Doughty. With Kirkes, he is currently injured, but he could be available by the time we get to 34, and he might even start both games this time for the double. But of course, either way, in the coming weeks, you could still sell Kirkes, and if you have more money in the future, you could go to Van Dijk or a second Arsenal defender. You've got plenty of options, even Munoz. But yeah, certainly at the moment, I'd sell Doughty to Gusto. Now my rank is 263k. Good stuff. Carl, hopefully you can keep on pushing. Hello Dylan, is this a good move? Botman to Robinson, KDB to Son for a -4. I like the moves in general, but a lot depends on your chip strategy. I'm not trying to sit on the fence, because with Son, if you're not free hitting in 34, Son's going to blank there. And in Game Week 33, that's when the fixtures turn for Spurs, and Son is a good option in the long term because of the upcoming doubles, but selling KDB for a hit this week, I know it's Arsenal, but he's got a great record against the Gunners. I'd be very wary about selling him for a hit this week. I know Son's going to be very popular for the captaincy, especially amongst engaged managers. Botman to Robinson seems fine. Botman's out for the entire year, not just this season, and Robinson has a good fixture this week, but A lot depends on your Gameweek 34 strategy. If you don't have the free hit, then I highly suggest you go to a Conor Bradley, an 8 Nuri, and maybe in the weeks to come, a Virgil van Dijk or an Arsenal defender. And I'm not too keen on Robertson in general. JP says, hi mate, should I keep Bowen, Gordon, or sell one to Palmer? I'd sell Bowen to Palmer. I'd keep Gordon with 3 home games in the next 4. I think that's the best play. With Jarrod Bowen, it is a good fixture, but I would sell him for Palmer. Venom says, hey Dylan, how have you been? All good. What about you? Captaining Palmer over Son, even though Luton is completely in shambles right now. Hope I get a good return. Well, Palmer has a good record against the newly promoted clubs. He got a goal and assist against Burnley earlier this season, so I'm not against that. I even said in my recent team selection videos and podcasts that I'm quite open to captaining a Palmer, and I'm very tempted by it the closer I get to the deadline, so it's not really a bad thing there. Start Saliba or Pau Torres? I'd probably go for Pau Torres. I don't trust Aston Villa defensively, but Man City away compared to Wolves at home, I'm going to go for Aston Villa this time. Mustafa says Garnacho, Isak, Kai or Gordon, Manice, Saka. Interesting one. Don't think I've had that question before, so that's a nice question. I would probably go for Gordon, Manice and Saka, but once again, your Gameweek 34 plans and Gameweek 37 could play a part, and Garnacho and Isak could be very useful later this season, but I'm going to go for Gordon, Manice and Saka. If you have enough money, consider Cunha instead of Manice, especially if you don't free hit in Gameweek 34. Barry says, should I start Saka or Douglas Luiz? I'd go for Douglas Luiz this week. Dave, welcome, good to see you, and hope you're well as well. Start Douglas Luiz or Solanke? That's a very close call. I'd probably go for Douglas Luiz, but very fine margins, very fine margins. Good to see you once again, Dave. Trenix, good to see you too. Rawan says, start Saka or Bowen? I'd probably go for Bowen, but I might be making a big mistake benching Saka, and also in some scenarios suggesting to bench Saka for some of you. Alex says, -4 to do Bowen to Salah and Elanga to Palmer, wildcarding next week. I like those moves, and I think the hit does pay off. Yeah, I mean, I would do it. I wouldn't even overthink it, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of taking hits just before wildcarding, but I think in this week alone, it pays off. Ala Madrid says, hey Dylan, hope you have a very good international break. Likewise, mate. Yeah, it was quite good. I watched the Argentina games and kind of disconnected a little bit, but this week content obviously was available every single day. I will be on holiday soon, so that will be my proper break for me personally. Genius Gamer says, start Richarlison or Foden? I would start. The thing is with Richarlison, we don't know if he's going to start. He will be in the squad based on what Ange said yesterday, but I'm not sure if he starts the game. I think if we get a leak before the deadline that Richarlison starts, I'd go for him, but otherwise, I'd probably be a bit safe and go for Foden. Benching Haaland, hope it's not mad. Well, the thing is with... wait, after that, I'll get to the other question soon. Yeah, it's always difficult benching a player like Haaland, even Saka this week. It's not ideal. But I think Haaland in any home game, to be honest, in any game, I just can't see myself ever benching him, but that's just myself. And sometimes you've got to go against the crowd and back your own gut. If you've got 7 other attackers of high quality with better fixtures, then it could definitely be viable. But yeah, I'd reconsider it, but play it your way because, yeah, it's boring if everyone does the same thing. Happy birthday to you. It's actually my birthday next week for the next deadline stream, but not today. Renan Costa says, start Saka or Muniz? I'd go for Muniz. Start Gabriel, 8 Nuri or Anderson? Wow. Difficult. I'm not really expecting much from any of them this week, but I'd probably go for Joachim Anderson, dare I say. Want to have Solanke my wild card, but his price is dropping. I wouldn't be too fussed about prices dropping and all of that because Solanke's got that double in 34. He'll probably go up in price fairly soon anyway. And yeah, also, if you look at the upcoming fixtures, they're really good on paper. I wouldn't sell Solanke. And of course, on a wild card, you can be a bit different. You can go for Cunha, for example, but I really like Solanke. The fixtures, the double in 34 makes sense. I would go for him, to be fair. Thank you, Carlos, for the super chat. Massively appreciated. Wild card, Petrovic, Raya, Gusto, Gabriel, Ruben Diaz, Borro, Bradley, Salah, Saka, Palmer, Son, Garnacho, Darwin, Solanke, Isak. Ya no tengo free hit. Ya no tengo free hit. Sí, está muy bien el equipo. Tengo dudas de Rúben Díaz, pero lo demás está muy bien. Especialmente tus mediocampistas y los delanteros, pero estoy pensando, Petrovic y Raya, sí, está bien, porque Raya tiene el doble en 34. Estoy pensando si hay otro defensor. Quizás en vez de Rúben Díaz puedes ir por Aït-Nouri, que tiene la doble fecha en 34, y después puedes moverlo a Ake o otro defensor de Manchester City. Así que es el único cambio que sí que sugiere. ¿Hay algo más que puedo hacer? También, mira, está Cunha, que para mí es muy infravalorado, y puedes ir por él en vez de Isaac o quizás Darwin Núñez, pero está muy bien tu equipo, la verdad. Y lo único que cambiaría es el quinto defensor, Rúben Díaz, por Aït-Nouri. Good to see you, Ahmed, and I'll try to get through some other chats I haven't been able to go through. DR K34 says Saliba, Gabriel, Cher, Zabani, Saka, Palmer, Son, Bowen, Haaland, Watkins, Solanke. Go for the wildcard suggestions. I mean, it's a good squad overall. For this week, I can understand why you might be, thinking about it. You don't have Salah. You've also got 2 Arsenal defenders away to Man City, Fabian Cher. I mean, I think you could get away with it without using the wildcard. I think the big downside to wildcarding this week is you either don't go with Watkins or you have to book in a transfer because you go for him this week and then you sell him in 31 or 33. But yeah, I think I'd make a defender transfer in your scenario and hold off for another week at least. But honestly, it really depends on your plans, your chip strategies. That does play a big part in terms of what you should do in the end. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for the super chat as well. Massively appreciated. Hey, Bud, hope all is well. Likewise. Great content this week as usual. Thank you. I'm in a dilemma. Who to give the armband to, Captain Salah or Son? Yeah, throughout the week, I've been kind of keen on Salah. If I had him, I'd be going for him. He's my captain in Fantasy Challenge. Now, it's quite close this week. I really do think that Luton is an easier opponent than Brighton, but it's still really close because Salah has been the best FPL option this season in terms of points per game, and generally speaking, he's got the highest ceiling of any player. I would go for Salah, but back your gut on that one. If you do have a feeling about Son instead, contrary to what I'm saying, then go for it, but I'd personally go for Salah as the captain in Gameweek 30. Thank you very much, and thank you to Carlos again. Massively appreciate. You didn't have to. Gracias, crack. Mi problema es que no me entra Haaland de ninguna manera y no sé cómo meterlo después y en qué fecha. Sí, entiendo eso. En cada wildcard o cuando hagas transferencias tienes que hacer un sacrificio. Para mí, Haaland lo tenéis que tener para la jornada 33 en contra de Luton Town. Así que yo recomendaría eso. La jornada 33 en contra de Luton Town, comprar a Haaland. En contra Arsenal y Aston Villa está bien si no lo compras por ahora. Pero sí, la jornada 33 hasta el fin de la temporada. Ahí lo quieres a tener a Erling Haaland. Thank you, Ray, as well. Super chats galore at the moment. And like I said, I will be gifting 5 to 10 memberships later on. Did Foden to Salah today. I believe in Salah for the upcoming weeks. We'll get Spurs, Chelsea assets in the next 2 weeks for Gameweek 34. We'll wildcard in 35, bench boost 37. Yeah, I mean, Foden to Salah, as much as I like Foden, I think that's a great upgrade. Yeah, I also believe in Salah. I think we all do. As an FPL option, we'll get Spurs, Chelsea assets in the next 2 weeks for Gameweek 34, wildcard 35, bench boost 37. To be honest, I think that's a great plan. The only thing is, since you don't have the free hit, or you haven't even mentioned it there, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We'll get Spurs and Chelsea assets in the next 2 weeks for Gameweek 34. Well, in the case of Chelsea, they have an Arsenal away fixture there, and Spurs are blanking. So, if anything, you want to pile up on the Chelsea Spurs assets on the wild card. But right now, if you don't have the free in 34, you want to pile up on Liverpool. And then in Gameweek 31 onwards, you pile up on Arsenal. And you've also got a few other options sprinkled in between, like Solanke, also Cunha, and Aït-Nouri. You've got a few options there. So I would reconsider the Chelsea Spurs assets and when you buy them. I'd say Gameweek 35 on the wild card is when you want to pile up on those 2 teams. But let me know, Ray, in a other chat if you want to talk about that as well. BA Taha says, good morning, Dylan. Likewise, Saka and Manice or Watkins and Garnacho still have the free hit chip. Wow. I really like Watkins this week, but if I'm looking longer term, I'd rather have Saka and Manice up until Game Week 35. So that's what I'd go for. Would you sell KDB for Son for free this week or wait to get Salah? Yeah, look, as much as I like KDB as an underrated option for Game Week 30, I would sell him to Son or Salah for free. I definitely would. So yeah, I think that's fine. The thing is, if you can't get to Salah because you're buying Son this week, that's where things get complicated. But maybe you do a switcheroo. You buy Son this week and then buy Salah in Game Week 31. But don't go without Salah in Game Week 31. That's one thing I think we can all agree on. Punjabi says, hey Dylan, it's good to be back to FPL. Seems like ages after the record disaster Game Week 29 in FPL history. Yes, that is certainly true. It seems like a distant memory, to be fair, which is a good thing. And yeah, it's good to be back. And there's a quick turnaround. There's another deadline on Tuesday. Rune says, hi Dylan, next wildcard next week, but for this week, -4 for Gusto or play Stupinian, Gabriel or Doughty. Oof. I think if you are free hitting in Game Week 34, I'd take the -4 hit for Gusto. The reason why I say that is because if you aren't free hitting, and then in future weeks you need to make some defender transfers to bolster your double Game Week prospects, that's where the Gusto transfer might not be that worth it. But if you are free hitting in 34, I take the plunge, take the -4 hit, and buy Gusto. Havertz or Gabriel on wildcard, no free hit. I'd still go for Gabriel, and I wouldn't go for like free Arsenal attackers. The same goes for Liverpool, although I'm a bit more open to that. I'd still go for one Arsenal defender at the very least. And if it's a question of Gabriel being your second Arsenal defender, that's a more difficult one, but I'd still go for him over Havertz. Just joined, so don't know if this has been asked. When do you plan on getting Salah in? Game Week 31, and you know what? We'll go for some different screens now so I can show you on screen. And be sure, by the way, to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. We're going to try to get this stream to over 100 likes. That'd be massively appreciated. So let's go to FPL.Team. All right, so in Game Week 31, by rolling the transfer this week, I can buy Salah for free. And what I need to do, it's not ideal, I'd have to sell Son and Watkins to buy Salah and potentially Cunha, and that does increase my double Game Week 34 doublers quite significantly. And yeah, I'd actually be quite happy with this setup. So if we then go to Game Week 32, I could also have this squad, and of course there's a few things to iron out. Maybe I start Cunha instead of Anthony Gordon. Anything else that I'd change? Maybe I'd go for Doughty or Zabani over Saliba. But the rest of it is quite solid. The captaincy is also definitely up in the air that week. Then in Game Week 33, I can buy 8 Nuri and go for 2 Wolves players that way because I don't have the free hit in Game Week 34. Some benching dilemmas yet again. Maybe Gordon starts over Solanke, but that is certainly up and open to interpretation. Then in Game Week 34, I can make 2 free transfers and have this setup. But yeah, it actually looks quite decent. Wait, is this... Just double checking. Yeah, no, okay. This is all fine. 2 free transfers. So we can go for something like this. Cunha comes in for Palmer. I can also go for Saliba for Doughty and Diaz for Ake. That actually looks quite solid. I could even buy Virgil van Dijk at the back instead, or take a -4 hit just to get that 10th double Game Week player. But as you can see, it's very easy for me to get to a decent number of double Game Week players. There's probably a few options that I can't really go for, so Odegaard or a third Arsenal player. The same goes for Liverpool, and that's what free hitters will have over me. But I think that's a quite solid team, all things considered. And remember, this is for no hits whatsoever. I can take 1 or 2 to get to a full 11 in Game Week 34. So those are my plans right now to roll this week, but that could certainly change. And then in Game Week 31, I buy Salah and Cunha for Son and Ollie Watkins. And then in 35, I wildcard and I buy back Son and I triple up on the likes of Spurs and Chelsea, and a lot of it is discussed in my wildcard and team selection videos and podcasts. Let's now go to the FDR from Fantasy Football Hub, and Wolves are now top up until Game Week 35. Bournemouth, Liverpool, Everton and Newcastle complete the top 5, and in the bottom set of teams there we've got Spurs, Luton Town, Brighton, Burnley and Manchester City. In terms of predicted points, Haaland, Son and Salah all share the same number, 7.4. Then we've got Jackson, who's really highly rated by this algorithm. And then afterwards, we've got a few interesting picks in here like Richarlison, Ivan Toney, Maddison, Isak, Watkins, and Cole Palmer. So, yeah, this algorithm doesn't really have an answer in terms of Son versus Salah for the captaincy, but it does over the likes of Palmer, who's also very popular this week. But I do think Palmer's quite underrated by all these numbers and metrics. In terms of the price changes we could see today, we have Gusto, Muniz, Petrovic, Semenyo, McAllister, Castagna, Virgil van Dijk, Palmer, Son, Udogi. There's a lot of players set to go up in price tonight. And in terms of those going down, the same thing. I mean, I've never seen this many, to be quite honest with you, but I think it's kind of a symptom of the international break. Saka, Doughty, Sinchenko, Edison, Gross, Trent, Kabore, Ben Mee, Saliba, Alex Moreno, Gabriel, Pedro Neto, Watkins, Tavernier, and Tony could all go down in price tonight. If not, it'll probably be over the next couple of days. If we then go to a stats comparison between Salah and Son, Salah wins in pretty much all these metrics, but it's worth noting that Son doesn't need great stats to perform very well. He's one of the best finishers in the Premier League, and his stats are actually quite good compared to last season at this time of the year. But yeah, if you're looking at underlying numbers, Salah's going to win. In terms of the fixture quality, you'd go for Heung-min Son from that perspective. And Luton Town have the worst defence over the last 8 game weeks, and especially away from home, they concede the most of any team. And if we then go to Drafthound, which is also another tool that I use, and there is a link in the description below, you can sign up using my one. They are recommending to sell Areola to Kelleher, if not Dubravka are being sold to Kelleher. So they aren't really recommending many outfield transfers except Doughty to Romero, but I'm not too keen on that move. And they also recommend Son as the captain amongst my team and Palmer as the vice. But one key difference between Drafthound and Fantasy Football Hub is that they highly rate Cole Palmer with 7.6 expected points against Burnley. And they also suggest to bench Saka this week, which could be a disaster. I've also got Saliba and Doughty there, but they've just changed the order a little bit. They've put Dubravka instead of Areola and Saliba second on my bench instead of Alfie Doughty. That's pretty much the only changes. And they also have a new feature for FPL Challenge. So if you are playing that game and you want to see what Drafthound recommend, be sure to check it out. I'm in the midst of kind of building their optimal squad. But in terms of my own FPL Challenge team, no changes since what I talked about yesterday in the video. But yeah, there could be some changes after the deadline stream and before the kickoffs have begun. So remember, a player becomes fully locked in once their match starts. And in terms of the final deadline, that's when there's only one match remaining within the game week. And so long as there are 2 matches remaining, you can still make transfers and changes for unlocked players. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. I'm not an expert on it, but I'm trying to learn and also give some good advice on that fantasy format as well. So let's now go back to my normal team, and nothing really has changed since the deadline stream. And very soon I'll be gifting 5 to 10 memberships, maybe 5 now, and later on I'll gift another 5. Let's see. Okay, a bit of a commotion happening here. Yeah, I'm seeing a bit of commotion in the chat. So bad news, Salah. Yeah, okay, no, I'm not even going to read that. Oh, okay, got your point. Don't have the free hit, says Ray. Yeah, I think it's very important, and it's not a way of me staying on the fence, even though some people might be thinking that, but it's really important to bear that in mind. Bench boost in 34, 37, 37 all day long for me. It is team dependent, but especially if you have Spurs players right now, I don't think it makes much sense to bench boost. It becomes really difficult. If you actually look at it, for Gameweek 37, it's so easy to have a full 50-man squad of doublers, so I'd really recommend 37 in most cases. Robinson or 8 Nuri? Robinson this week, there's no doubt about it, but if I'm buying one for the long term, it's certainly going to be 8 Nuri with that double in Gameweek 34 and some promising fixtures for Wolves up until Gameweek 35. Salah, Muniz, Gusto for a -8, selling Bowen, Morris, and Estupinian or wildcard. Wow. So I wouldn't just wildcard for those transfers alone. It would have to be more on top of it, and I'm assuming that's the case. But in that scenario, I'd probably recommend the wildcard to kind of save that -8. Bowen and Elanga to Salah and Palmer. Yeah, I have no questions about that whatsoever. No problems with it. I think that's the way to go. Just give me a second to deal with some issues here. Yeah, for some reason I can't do things from my chat that I've got here. But yeah, I appreciate those moderating the chat and keeping things in order. When we use the wildcard, the plan is to use it in Game Week 35. Is it worth taking a -8 to bring in Palmer and Salah? Yes, but if you're wildcarding next week, I'm not a big fan of taking massive hits the week just before wildcarding. Dylan, you're an Arsenal fan, but you decided to play Triple City. Are you trying to jinx City? Well, I do favour them slightly for this fixture, since they're at home, and yeah, I just really think Man City will step up. But yeah, also there's an element of that, I won't lie to you. But yeah, it's mainly because if I'm have to back one team and just kind of throw aside my support for a certain club, I think Man City are the favourites for that game. Nunez or Isak for the wildcard? Wow. I'd still go for Darwin, and that's primarily because of his double in 34. And with Isak, I mean, they're both, I'm going to say Darwin's injury prone, but he has picked up quite a few knocks recently. But Isak certainly is injury prone over his time at Newcastle. I think I'd go for Darwin Nunez for now. Start Martinez or Neto this week? Martinez. How are you doing, Dylan? Pedro Porro alternatives? In terms of FPL Challenge, well, just in general, I mean, you can go for an Udogie or Romero instead, but yeah, Pedro Porro alternatives, I'd say Gusto, Bradley, Van Dijk. If you can go to Van Dijk, I'd definitely go for him. -4 for Doughty to Gusto and Bowen to Salah? Yes. It's just a yes for me. Lucid says, when would you recommend to wildcard if I can't free in Game Week 34? Of course, I don't know the ins and outs of your team, but I think Game Week 35 could be a nice time to wildcard, because from now until Game Week 34, you maybe take the occasional hit, you use free transfers to dead end into Game Week 34, have as many doublers as possible, and then you wildcard out of it so you can then tackle the Game Week 37 doubles and maybe bench boost then. Would you consider Van Dijk over Bradley? I mean, if I had the money, I'd be buying Van Dijk right now. I think Van Dijk is worth going for because he'll start every single game. With Bradley, I think he starts the next two, but once Trent is back, I think Bradley will become a big rotation risk, and that's not something you want for a double Game Week 34 player. Dawn says, what do I do? I've one free transfer, 2.5 million in the bank. Also have wildcard and bench boost to use. My team is Areola, Dubravka, Taylor, Porro, Ake, Zabani, Saliba, Foden, Saka, Gordon, Son, Palmer, Watkins, Solanke, Haaland. What do I do? Interesting. So your goalkeepers are fine for now. Yeah, quite a similar setup to my team, I think. So what I'm doing myself is wildcarding in 35 and bench boosting in 37. You could make a case for rolling the transfer this week. You can start Borro, Ake, and Zabani. If you're not really too happy with that, then you could make a change there. You've got 2.5 million in the bank after all. Not enough. Actually, I think you do have enough. Yeah, you could do... Oh, interesting. Okay. Taylor... Let me know how much Taylor costs for you. I'm not sure what price you bought Taylor for, but if you can do Taylor to Van Dijk, I can't recommend that enough. I think that's a great transfer for Game Week 34, and also, even before that, the fixtures are quite good for Liverpool. But yeah, apart from that, I think you're quite good for now. You can then buy Salah next week for a -4 hit, and if you roll the transfer this week, you can buy him for free. But it would require selling the likes of Son and Watkins. Is Kivior a good option because I don't have the budget for any other Arsenal defender? He's been the best in terms of FPL points recently, but he did play 120 minutes in the last game against Wales, and Poland actually qualified for the Euros that way. And just before that, during the international break, he played 90 minutes in another game for Poland. So that puts me off slightly. Then it's Man City away this week, but afterwards, I think Kivior's a decent purchase and acquisition, and you can easily bench him this week. So I'm not completely against it. I'm just a bit worried because Zinchenko is back. You've also got Timber and Tomiyasu very close to returning. And once that happens and they're able to start games, I think Kivior could be dropped at some stage. Start Tony or Saka? I'd probably go for Tony this week. I'd just about go for him. Aviadem, thank you very much. Hey Dylan, great live. My first 11, Dubravka, Bradley, Udogie, Robinson, Son, Maddison, Kudus, Bowen, Foden, Haaland, Tony. 2 transfers, what to do? Interesting. So yeah, in your scenario, you could easily get, well, I wouldn't say easily get, but you have more flexibility to buy back a Salah as an example. Your defense looks quite solid this week. I wouldn't touch it. I'd also stick with your goalkeeper. I think that's fine. So really what I'd try to do is find a way to buy Salah. So if you could sell Bowen to Salah and also maybe, let's say, downgrade Tony to Acuna or Menis to make that happen, I think that's the way to go. Tob22 says, hope you're well, Dylan. Watkins and Foden to Menis and Salah for free next week or -4 now. It's the only way I can get him. I'd do it next week because selling Watkins for a -4, I can't do that. Yeah, like I said, I'm probably going to use the wildcard in 35. That's the current plan. Robinson or 8 Nuri, I've covered this before. So Robinson for this week, there's no doubt about it. I think he's got a much better chance of a clean sheet. But if I'm looking to buy one for the upcoming game weeks as well, and double game week 34 in mind, I'm always going to go for 8 Nuri. The doggy or Borro? I'd go for Borro, but it's a difficult one because in some scenarios, budget might be very tight, and going for a doggy saves you quite a bit on Borro, and that could really help you with other moves in the future. But I definitely visualize this first and see what you could do with the extra money. If there's nothing really significant, then I just go for the Spaniard. Welcome, Phobia Isak TV. Likewise to you. Hopefully you're doing really well. I am very far behind at the moment. Be sure to keep on smashing the like button and subscribe for new. Let's get this stream to over 100 likes. That'd be massively appreciated. Dylan, we need a captaincy poll. Okay, I can do one later, but we do have one on the channel. If you go to my channel and go to the community tab, I do have one, which includes Palmer, Salah, Son, and the other option. And yeah, it's got some interesting results, to say the least. Bowen or Douglas Luiz? Douglas Luiz this week. Hey Dylan, is either Maddison or Son good for this game week? They're both good this week, especially Son. So I wouldn't sell any of them right now. I have Petrovic, Share, Gusto, Udogi, Palmer, Gordon, Son, Salah, and Iwobi. Forwards, Wood, Haaland, and Isak, says Phobia. Some interesting differentials in there, that's for sure. Your defence looks quite solid this week. I like the midfield. I'm not a big fan of Iwobi, but facing Sheffield United, that's fine. Yeah, it's a good squad. There's a few changes I would make in the future, which include Chris Wood and Iwobi, but the rest looks really good, actually. Tyan says 8 Nuri, Richarlison, Isak, or Borro, Saka, Menis. I'm on wildcard 30, free at 34, and bench boost 37. Quite interesting. I'd still go for Borro, Saka, and Menis, but it's a very, very close call between those two trios. A very close call. I'd probably just go for the second one because of Saka. I think that's the main reason. Who to captain this week, Palmer or Maddison? I'd go for Palmer out of those two. Kudus start? Yeah, I believe so, but I'm not a big fan of Kudus right now, and I'm quite cold on all West Ham assets, including Jared Bowen, but Newcastle away isn't a bad fixture, to be fair. Bench Gordon, Saka or Foden? Saka, and that's what I've done currently. Best cheap mids, says LXICH. So obviously for this week, Douglas Luiz and Bailey definitely enter the equation, but looking longer term, I think Palmer and Gordon are the clear standouts by some distance, and then I'd be looking at Garnacho with his doubling gimmick 37 in mind, and he's a very good option on the wildcard in 35. So those are the three I'd really look out for at the moment. Kyron says, you might have covered this, but is Salah a must now? Yes, but you don't need to necessarily buy him in this week for hits and stuff like that. If possible, if you can buy him for free, do it this week. I'd highly recommend it, but you definitely want him by Gimmick 31. He's absolutely essential from that point up until Gimmick 34. You don't want to go without him in that period. I would have to do Foden to Salah and Watkins to a 4.4 million forward. Yeah, it's not ideal. It really isn't, but it might also eliminate one of your benching headaches you might have by doing so. And maybe instead of selling Foden, you could sell Son, for example, next week, but it all depends on your chip strategy, because if you're free hitting in Gimmick 34, you don't want to sell Heung-min Son in Gimmick 32 or Gimmick 31. Would you do Foden to Salah and Watkins or Solanke to Cunha or Menis for a -4? I would probably do... Yeah, this week I wouldn't do it. Not for a -4 hit. Do it in Gimmick 31, do it for free, and I'd sell Watkins in that case, because if you aren't free hitting in Gimmick 34, Solanke has that double and good fixtures beforehand. Hi mate, start Petrovic or Leno? I'm currently going for Petrovic in my FPL challenge, and Leno's on the bench, but I'm also going a bit different with that setup. I'm going for lower owned players. I think it's a really close call. I'd argue that Leno has the better chance of a clean sheet, ever so slightly, but it's quite close, I think. Luisa Guerrero says, hey, good morning. Would you start Nuri or Gabriel? This week I'd go for Nuri, and good morning to you as well. Venga Desan says, hi mate, can you suggest me which striker to buy under 6.8 million? Cunha. I'd highly recommend Cunha right now. He has that double in 34. He could be in contention. Well, he is in contention to start this week. He might even do so. And he's got some good fixtures like Burnley away next week. So I'd go for Cunha. Phobia says, for your information, Dylan Mohamed Salah is fasting, so he won't play 90 minutes. Yeah, look, there's always, these kind of statements are put out. Typically, I'm not too sure. I haven't done any research on Salah during Ramadan and all of this and Eid. But I have a look if possible. That could also play a part. But even in 70, 80 minutes, I think Salah could do really well. Gabriel 8 Nuri on wildcard. Only need them for 31, 32, 33. On wildcard, I'd still go for Gabriel. Only need him for 31, 32, 33. Very close. I'd probably go for Gabriel though. Good to see you, Lager. Akram says, hi Dylan, Bowen for Salah. However, I need to go Morris for Semenyo for a -4 so I can get Haaland later because I have some budget issues. I still have a free hit, bench boost and triple captain. Any advice? Ooh, yeah, that's not ideal, but you have fought it quite, you fought it well through, and it makes sense. Any advice? I don't know the rest of your team, so it makes it very difficult for me to comment, but I do like what you're going for. It's not ideal to make that sort of downgrade for a hit, but to buy Salah this week and also having him in place for Gameweek 31, I think that's absolutely fine. Bench Wood, Gordon or Iwobi? Wow, that is a close call. I'd probably bench Chris Wood. It's between him and Iwobi. Wow, I'd definitely start Gordon. I'm very conflicted about the other two. You know what? I think I'd start Chris Wood, and I hope I don't regret that change there. Can I sell Solanke to Manice to afford Salah? Well, you can do that, but if you aren't free hitting in Gameweek 34, you probably want Solanke back by then, and he's got good fixtures beforehand, so try to reconsider, find another way, but if you are free hitting in 34, then I wouldn't really have too many issues with such a move. And do I sell Son, Saka or Foden for Salah? Depending on your free hit strategy, are you using in 34? If so, then I wouldn't sell Son. Maybe in that case you could sell Foden, for example. But yeah, if you aren't free hitting in 34, then I would sell Son. Milner says, hello Dylan, hope you had a good international break. Likewise. Which of Kirkes or Doughty would you sell to Gusto? Doughty. The defense currently is Pau, Kirkes and Borro. So would you start Gusto there or over a midfielder like Foden? I'd start him over one of your defenders, probably Kirkes, who might not even start the game. He's an injured out. He was benched in the last game for Bournemouth anyway. So I would buy Gusto, I think it is. Yeah, buy Gusto for Doughty and bench Kirkes. Bit of a mid-off here, but start Garnacho or Havertz. This week I'd go for Garnacho. Now, Havertz could do something, quite interesting. I think he'd become the first Arsenal player since Thierry Henry to score in 5 consecutive Premier League games in his debut season. But to do that against Man City is a big ask. He's done it before, but I'd go for Garnacho. Would you consider Manice over Haaland this week? Yeah, I would consider it. Even in FPL Challenge, I've done something a bit similar to that. But in terms of FPL, I mean, I wouldn't sell Haaland. Let me make that very clear. I would not sell him this week. But in terms of starting one or the other, you could certainly make a case for Manice, and I'd argue he has the highest ceiling, but going against Haaland is always a risk. We all know what he's capable of, even against the best teams in the world. Fasting shouldn't be an issue for Salah since he's been doing this every season. Never forget Benzema during Ramadan kept on scoring hat-tricks in 2022. That's true, but it's worth mentioning these small details sometimes, but I don't really look into it too much. I still just look at Salah as a great FPL option, and I think he can genuinely outscore everyone else, especially in Gameweek 31. And trust me, a Ramadan isn't going to really factor into my thinking when I buy him next week, but I think Phobia raises a valid point. Hey Dylan, I really want to captain Manice against Sheffield, but I have Salah. Who to captain? Well, no, if you really want to captain Manice, go for it. Back your gut. I personally would favour Salah, Son and Palmer over Manice, but play the game your way and enjoy it. But yeah, who to captain? My recommendation is Salah, but go for your gut. That is the most important thing. Samuel Glock says, Kelleher, Varane, Garnacho and Isak or Onana. Gabriel, Gordon, and Manice on my wildcard. Still have a free hit and bench boost. I'd go for the second quartet, I believe. I think Onana's better than Kelleher long term. I also think Gabriel's better than Varane. Gordon's better than Garnacho. Now, Manice over Isak, maybe longer term, no. But I just look at the second quartet as even better. Haaland or Salah captain? I'd go for Salah this week. Phobia says, I activate the wildcard, Dylan. Any suggestions? Wood or Manice, Iwobi, or another player? I'd rather go for Manice over Wood. But if you can, Phobia, go for Cunha. I think that's a great differential. It's something I actually realised this morning that I could buy him in place for Gameweek 34. He's got Burnley away next week. I really back Cunha in the long term. So yeah, if you can stretch him, go for Cunha as your forward. As for your fifth midfielder, you can consider Garnacho, Anthony Gordon, and of course, I'm assuming you have Palmer already. But yeah, Iwobi, look, you might be onto something. You have to, trust your instincts and go for what you believe. But I just personally don't like Chris Wood or Iwobi in the long term. Who to buy at Brighton goalkeeper? I just wouldn't buy a Brighton goalkeeper. I know that's not what you're looking for, because throughout the season, Brighton have rotated between both goalkeepers there in Steele and Verbruggen. I'd go somewhere else entirely. If you want 237 goalkeepers who double, I think even Dubravka could be a shout if Nick Pope isn't back by then, but I think the best ones on paper would be Petrovic and Onana. No worries, under par. I will see if I can find your question, but it's probably lost a bit early in the chat. So yeah, I'm still looking for it, but I can't see it right now. Apologies for that. Raiden Jr. says, who to sell? Ake, Doughty, Taylor, Zabani, Gabriel for Gusto, Aït-Nouri? I would sell either Doughty or Taylor. And I think maybe Doughty just because he's a bit more expensive. The fixtures are absolutely awful. There's a few decent games in between, like Bournemouth at home. But yeah. And once again, actually, in terms of who to buy, it depends on your Gameweek 34 strategy, because if you are free hitting in Gameweek 34, then go for Gusto. But if you aren't free hitting and you want that extra doubler, then Aït-Nouri is the solution. So that kind of determines that answer. But as for who to sell, it's between Doughty and Taylor. Ben says, who should I bench? Tony, Garnacho or Manice? And I transferred Morris, Douglas Luiz and Saka for Salah, Palmer and Manice to save my wildcard. No free hit. What is your thoughts? Out of those three players, I think I'd bench Garnacho. As for your second part of the question and comment, I do like what you've done, buying Salah, Palmer, Manice. But I have to say, Douglas Luiz could do very well this week, in my opinion. But selling him is the right thing. Ultimately, you want to sell him, but it's just a question of timing. And as for Saka, you probably want him back by Gameweek 31. And if you aren't free hitting in 34, yeah, you don't have the free hit. Yeah, Saka could be a big miss between Gameweek 31 to 34. But apart from that, I think you've thought it through. It's a good set of plans and it looks very solid. Thank you, Awali. I appreciate that. Do you suggest Foden to Salah or Son to Salah? Once again, depends on your 34 strategy. Are you free hitting that week? If you are free hitting, then I would keep Son. But if you aren't free hitting, he is the one to sell, in my opinion. Thoughts on Isak? He just can't stay fit, really, for a prolonged period of time. That's the big issue with him. But I think if he can stay fit, he's a good option for the bench boost in 37, and the fixtures for Newcastle are as good as they get in general. So I do have preferences in the forward line, but Isak is a decent shout, certainly. Sell 1, Saka, KDB, Foden, Garnacho and Richarlison. Ultimately, it would be KDB, but it's just a question of, do you sell him this week, or do you maybe give him that chance against Arsenal, his favourite opponent in the Premier League? And it's also a massive differential, which could make a big difference for you. But yeah, if I had to pick, probably between KDB and maybe Richarlison, but a lot depends on your 34 strategy as well. Yet again, I think that's very important for everyone who's asking questions, because if you don't have the free in 34, that plays a big part. I think you sell Richarlison in that case, but maybe not this week because he plays Luton Town at home. Garnacho or Gordon? I'd still go for Gordon. I think with Garnacho, he's probably more appealing in the Gameweek 35 wildcard. Thank you, FPL Elmer. Massively appreciated. Thanks for the amazing content, bro. Normally here for UEFA Fantasy. Thank you for tuning in today. Yeah, UCL Fantasy, of course. The plan is to do some streams and videos for that, despite being on holiday very soon. But yeah, I appreciate that, mate. Ben says, and I have no City players. My team is Areola, Doughty, Gabriel, Pedro Porro, Salah, Son, Madison, Palmer, Garnacho, Maniz, Watkins, and my bench is Tony, Ake, and a budget defender. What are your thoughts? Interesting. No City players. Wow. So just Ake, who's on your bench. I get that. So yeah, Ben, which chips do you have remaining? I think that plays a big part. I like your midfield, especially this week. No need to really tinker with that too much. Okay. So you should have a lot of money in the bank, that's for sure. The big weak link, in my opinion, is your defense, especially Doughty this week. So I would make a change there. I mean, you could even start Ake over Doughty. That would be my suggestion, but I would look at potentially bolstering your defense. If you don't have the free hit in 34, then you could go for an 8 Nuri or a Connor Bradley, or even better still, Virgil van Dijk. That would be my recommendation. Hi Dylan, start Saka or Gordon? I'm going for Gordon myself. Start Tony or Douglas Luiz? I'd go for Douglas Luiz. Start Maniz or Saka plus Gabriel or Lascelles? I'd go for Lascelles and I'd go for Maniz. What's happened with Salah? I'm not so sure. I think some false rumours are being spread around. Is a Tottenham defender essential? If yes, is it worth taking Ben White out for either of them? I wouldn't say they're essential because they blank in 34. Their fixtures turn from Gameweek 33. Now, from 35 onwards, you probably want to go for a Spurs defender with their 2 doubles in mind, but I don't think they're essential. I really don't. And also Ben White, you know, he's got Luton Town at home next. I wouldn't sell him just yet. And of course, the double in 34. Play 2, Saka, Foden or Solanke, says Isak. I would play Foden and Solanke. That's what I've currently done myself. Thank you, Majabi. As he says, be sure to smash the like button. Once the stream gets to 100 likes, by the way, I will be gifting membership. So be sure to get plugging away with that. And thank you very much to a new super chat. Thank you, Tommy. Very generous of you as well. Hey, May, not sure about having Gabriel and Saliba against City. May, even with one of them, I'd probably be unsure about that. I get that. Transfer one of them. I would like Salah in my team next week. I'm happy with the rest of my team. I still have my wild card, but I'm not too sure about using it now. Yeah. Now, you didn't mention the free hit. I'm assuming you've used it already. The best time to wildcard for a lot of people who've used the free hit is Gameweek 35. So you dead end into Gameweek 34. You try to get as many doublers as possible, and then you wildcard out of them and then get the other set of doublers, because no team that doubles in 34 will double in 37. So as for your first point about selling one of Gabriel Saliba, I think it makes sense this week, but you probably want them for Gameweek 34 and also against Luton Town at home next week. So if you can then buy them back for Gameweek 31, then that's absolutely fine. But I'm just a bit unsure about selling one of them this week. Maybe instead you could sell another defender who's on your bench currently, who you don't really rate too much, and bolster that part of the defence instead. And even better, if you've got a lot of money in the bank and you can go to Van Dijk, go for it. But you've also got alternatives in Nuri, Connor Bradley, and a few others here and there. Maybe Tsimikas could be a decent option in Robertson's absence, although that probably won't be for too long. So that's probably what I'd recommend. I think the defender transfer is the right call, but I would keep Gabriel and Saliba if possible. As for the rest of it, I think, yeah, in terms of not sure about using the wild card, yeah, if you're not too sure about using it, then I'd probably wait, and maybe Gameweek 31 is better for you, or Gameweek 35, as I mentioned earlier. Why not captaining Palmer? It's a close call, mate. I just really like the Luton Town fixture for Spurs. I think that's going to be a very high-scoring game. And I also trust Spurs more than I do Chelsea, who have been very unreliable this season. Now, it's not to say I don't expect Chelsea to win, because I do, but I see Chelsea's ceiling as scoring 3 goals. I think they'll score 2 or 3 goals, but with Spurs, I could see them scoring 4 or 5 easily. Maybe I'm a bit flawed in my logic. In terms of underlying numbers, it'd be quite close between these two. What I like about Palmer is that he's more of a differential captain, and that could be enough for me to just go for him, because this season there has been this trend of the most popular and template picks haven't really been the best options for the captaincy. But yeah, Palmer's definitely a close call. He's my vice, and we'll see if he ends up becoming my actual captain, but still a long way to go for the deadline. Hi Dylan, start Doughty or Mikalenko, says Jovan. I would start Mikalenko. Captain Son, Palmer or Salah? I'd go for Salah there, but it's a very close call between all three of them this week. You can make a case for any of them, but I'd personally go for Salah. 4.4 million or less defender other than Gusto? Connor Bradley. Akram says, my current team is Son, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Maddison, Tony, Watkins and Morris, with Haaland and Semenyo next. Plans, and I still have free hit, bench boost and triple captain. Any advice? I mentioned the best time to use every single chip in the chip strategy guide and transfer plans video. So the free hit for me is best using Gameweek 34 for most people, the bench boost in 37, and I'd probably triple captain Palmer in Gameweek 36 or 35, depending on when Chelsea get that double. But I think that's the way I'd probably play it. In terms of your team, it looks good. I'm not a big fan of Morris. If you can upgrade him to Cunha, who also helps you in Gameweek 34, although in your case, probably not that important because you've got the free hit. You know, you can go for something a bit different there. But yeah, good squad. And I think you're in a good position with all the chips available. Sell Foden to Salah. If that's the only way you can get Salah, then I would do it. Welcome. So hi, Mr. Dylan. Neto, Udogie, Gabriel, Doughty, Palmer, Son, Maddison, Saka, Salah, Tony, Watkins. -4 already. Would you change anything? I think your defense would be, it's kind of a recurring theme for a lot of us. It's an issue for a lot of people. I think I would bolster Doughty. Gabriel's good for the long term. Not ideal to start him this week, but you know, you might have to swallow your pride there. But your defense, I think, is the only way to improve this team. You have taken a -4 hit already, and your midfield looks really good. Yeah, I probably would make a defender transfer if possible. And I'd be looking at potentially Gusto, Bradley, Aït-Nouri, Van Dijk, depending on your Gameweek 34 plans. Are you free hitting or not? And also how much money you have in the bank. Start 2, Saka or Robinson or Maguire? I'd probably go for Saka and Robinson in that case. Fionki says, already did Foden to Salah, Gordon to Palmer for a -4. I wouldn't do it. I mean, I might be wrong about this, and Palmer certainly has a higher ceiling than has a higher ceiling than Gordon, but yeah, Gordon with a home fixture, I would not sell him for a -4. I really wouldn't. Start Saka or Richarlison. I'd go for Richarlison, but it is a big risk. He might not even start the game. So if we get confirmation that he's benched before the deadline, then just go for Saka. I have bench boost and wildcard, says Ben. Yeah, fair enough. Wildcard 35, bench boost 37 probably looks best for a lot of people, but of course it is team dependent. Bradley or Branthwaite? I prefer Bradley, but it's worth mentioning Branthwaite is safer in the long term. And for Gameweek 34, if you need that doubler in place already, Branthwaite just solves that issue. He's so nailed on. But with Bradley, by Gameweek 32, 33, I think he drops to the bench. Dylan, Bowen to Palmer? Yes. Start Estupinian or Maguire? Maguire, definitely. I mean, Estupinian away to Liverpool. I just don't see him getting anything. Start Garnacho or Saka? It's a close call. I'd still go for Saka this week, I believe. But I'm a bit tempted by Garnacho. Lower owned, better fixture. Brentford is certainly there to target, but I think I'll go for Saka. Darwin and Virgil or Haaland and Bradley for the next 2 game weeks on wildcard? Wow. You know what? I think I'd go for Darwin and Virgil. Maybe I'm being a bit stupid there. That is a really close call. I think I'm going for Haaland and Bradley in the end. It's literally 50-50. Richarlison over Saka and Foden? In terms of starting this week, yes. But once again, Richarlison isn't that nailed on to start in Gameweek 30. Any news for Gabriel Magalhaes? The same goes for Saka and Martinelli. All of them have a chance of playing according to Arteta, but I'm not really too confident in that because whenever Arteta says something, it tends to be the opposite in a press conference. But they should be good to play. Start Saka or Gordon this game week? Gordon, that's what I'm currently doing. Hi Dylan, start Manice or Tony, says Austin. I'd start Manice. Start 1, Estupinian, Gabriel or Doughty? It's between Doughty and Gabriel. I've currently got Doughty ahead of Gabriel in my pecking order, or ahead of Saliba. That's probably what I'd go for, but I just see Luton Town conceding so many goals. It might be best to start Gabriel instead. It really would. Of course, it's team dependent, but I think for a lot of people, the best time to wildcard is Game Week 35, especially those that don't have the free hit to use in Game Week 34. For those that do have the free hit, it could be a bit different, where you wildcard in 30 or 31, you free in 34, and you've got plenty of transfers to build a 37 bench boost, or use the triple captaincy there. Yeah, Mohammed, like I mentioned earlier, I'd probably go for Bradley as another alternative. Will Saka start this week? I believe so. Antoine says Morris to Darwin and Kabore to Bradley for a -4, then bench Saka for Darwin. Yes, I think that does look good. I mean, taking a -4 hit to bench Saka isn't ideal, but you are bringing in some good players there like Bradley. It is risky though, because even Darwin is flagged at the moment. I think he will play. He's been in training in the last couple of days. I believe he'll start the game. With Connor Bradley, he's going to start the next 2, but after that I think he drops to the bench. Overall, I think the upside is worth it. I'd go for it, but just bear in mind Bradley and Darwin, maybe not the safest options in general, especially Bradley. Bailey or Wissa to start? Bailey. Dylan, how about Salah? Can I sell Saka for Salah? Of course you can. Just bear in mind that Saka in Game Week 31 plays Luton Town at home, and he doubles in 34. If you don't have the free hit, you probably want Saka back. Why are you benching Saka? Because the 7 attackers I have better fixtures, and I believe that Saka is the most likely to blank there. Even if he does return, I think his ceiling will be lower compared to anyone in my starting 11, really, obviously in terms of midfielders and forwards. But yeah, it's a close call. I mean, Saka's been the best FPL option in 2024. It's not easy to bench him, but Man City away, yeah, I think it's definitely worth considering. Is Palmer a viable option to keep for bench boost 34? Yes, he still is. As long as the rest of your bench is solid, it's not a bad option. Away to Arsenal, he did return against them last time, but yeah, I could think of worse, that's for sure. ¿Qué te parece Jackson? No soy fanático y mi mayor problema con él es que acumula muchas amarillas. Si obtiene uno más, lo van a suspender por 2 partidos. Pero muchos sitios como Drafthound lo recomienda. Y mira, Jackson tiene la jornada en contra Burnley, donde puede hacer un muy buen trabajo, pero yo prefiero Palmer. Y también entre delanteros tienes a Darwin Núñez, Isaac, Højlund, Haaland, Watkins, y hay muchos más que para mí son más confiables que Jackson, pero quizá estoy equivocado. No Salah this week. I just can't get to him without taking a hit, and I can buy him next week for free. I see you're playing Gordon ahead of Saka. Any reason? Well, Gordon's at home, much better fixture. He's only blanked once this season at St James's Park in the Premier League. Saka's away to Man City. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Haaland for Tony for a -4? No. I don't think I'd take a hit. I know Haaland's a massive upgrade on Tony, but for a -4, I'd maybe wait another week and do it for free. Tommy Raw says on my wildcard, you fancy it Nuri or keep Gabriel on the bench? I do fancy it Nuri for the next couple of weeks, I really do, but yeah, the thing is with Nuri, even this week against Aston Villa away, you'd want to bench him. He's not really ideal to start. But yeah, if you're asking me between Gabriel or Nuri, I'm going to pick Gabriel for the wildcard. Thanks, Dylan. Van Dijk for Doughty. Yeah, it's not ideal for a -8, but I think I'd do it. And it probably negates the hits you have to take later in the season. Areola or Neto? I'd go for Neto this week. Foden or Tony, says Aviad. Foden. Close though. Nabil says Salah and Sarabia in for Saka and Bone for a -4. Yeah, I think I would. Now, in terms of Wolves attackers, Cunha's my favourite. But Sarabia is probably second now with everyone else being injured at the moment. I'm just thinking if there's any other midfielder you could go for. I mean, Gordon certainly appeals to me, but you might not have the free hit, and it makes sense to go for Sarabia instead. Start Manice or Gordon, says Amir. I'd personally go for Gordon. Good morning to you as well, James. Matt's Collectibles says Morris to Manice, Bailey to Salah, had Bailey for months. Yeah, look, Bailey against Wolves, I think he could do very well, but selling to Salah, even if it kind of backfires a little bit this week, it's going to pay off in the long term. So that transfer is an absolute no-brainer. Morris to Manice, absolutely fine, but I'd also suggest, or at least have you consider Cunha instead of Manice, but yep, the plans are absolutely fine. Start Morris or Saka? I'd go for Saka. Best captain this week, Salah, Son, Palmer. Probably in that order. Salah first, Son second, Palmer third. Louise, Gordon, Saka pick 2. For this week, I'd go for Douglas Luiz and Gordon. Rayden says, which 3 defenders to start this week? Ake, Doughty, Taylor, Zabani, Gabriel. If I had to sell one, who to sell and who to buy? No free hit left. I would go for Zabani, Ake, and probably Gabriel. Hi Dylan, Chong to Palmer for a -4? Yes, I'd do it. Good to see you, Welp. Is it alright to play Taylor next game week to get Son this week and Salah Cunha -4 next game week? Yeah, it's not ideal. You probably don't expect much, if anything at all, but yeah, the players you're bringing in of high quality, I think it does make sense. Dylan, start Saka or Garnacho? I'm going to stick with Saka. Haaland for Tony for a -4. I mean, it's a bit similar to other -4 questions I've been asked earlier. Long term, it will pay off. There's no doubt about it, but it's just really up to you. Do you really back Haaland that much against Arsenal? If so, then fair enough. But I think Tony could do well against Man United. He's blanked 5 times in a row. I just see him hauling eventually. But he has been very frustrating. I mean, I'm quite happy to have sold Tony myself back in Game Week 28. Yeah, I just say yes. You know, I'd go for yes, go for it. But if you can find a way to get him for free next week, that might be the better option. Start Tony or Saka. I think I was asked this before, and I'll probably change my answer as we go along, but it's so close. Tony has the better fixture, but yeah, I think I'm going to go for Tony just about. Zabani to borrow or roll? Nah, I just roll, especially if you aren't free hitting in 34 and you need Zabani for that game week. Considering you're thinking about wildcard 35, don't you think it might be a bit messy to have both wildcard and bench boost so late in the game? Of course, a lot could happen from now until the end of the season, but yeah, it's not ideal to wildcard so late, I'll be honest, but it really optimizes the bench boost, and the reason why the wildcard in 35 works so well is because for those that use the free hit, you could dead end into Game Week 34, and right now you just have that tunnel vision focused completely on double Game Week 34, and then afterwards you can have a 50-man squad full of double Game Week players for the other double in Game Week 37, and you also have good fixtures in 35, 36, and in Game Week 38. Should I start Garnacho or Haaland? I'd go for Haaland. Start Manise or Gordon? I'd actually go for Gordon, which might be an unpopular take. Palmer for Chong -4? Yes. William says, hey, hope you're doing very well. Would you play Cunha over Saka this week? Wow. I'm quite conflicted about that, to be quite honest with you. I think I'd still go for Saka, just about. Thank you to those that have still been tuning in, and a massive shout out, by the way, goes to everyone who's sending super chats. A lot of super chats came in today, so I do appreciate that. Let's get this stream to over 100 likes, and once we do that, I'll be gifting 5 memberships, and then probably towards the end of the stream, I'll be gifting another 5. So be sure to keep on plugging away at the likes, and you could have the chance of winning a membership for an entire month to gain access, early access to my videos. Is it alright to play Taylor? Yeah, I've covered that. Good to be back. It's been a really long time since the last to be able to tune in. Done Gordon to Salah. Yeah, good luck wasting. It's a good transfer. Gordon is a good option for the next 4, but Salah's a massive upgrade. There's no doubt about that. Thank you, Awali. As he says, try not to spam the chat, otherwise you will be put on timeout. Melinda says, hey Dylan, how you're going? Good. What about you? Also my wildcard, Leno, Petrovic, Border, Robinson, Region, Branthwaite, Lascelles, Salah, Son, Saka, Palmer, Garnacho, Haaland, Isak, Solanke. It's a very solid wildcard squad. I'm just wondering if you have the free hit, and if you do have the free hit, when are you planning on using it? Looking at your squad, I think it's safe to assume you have the free in 34. Yeah, I think so. Unless I'm mistaken. But yeah, if you are free hitting in 34, the wildcard is absolutely fine. If you aren't doing it, I'd maybe reconsider a few options. I don't like Region, to be quite honest with you. It's not just because last week I just don't think he's a viable option. Branthwaite is decent, I think. Yeah, overall, very good squad. Leno and Robinson double up looks great for this week, but I'm just unsure about that for the long term. The rest looks really solid. I'm on the wild card. Budget is not an issue. Top 3 strikers. I'm free hitting in Gameweek 34. Right. Haaland, Solanke. Well, yeah, you are free hitting in 34. Solanke's still useful for you, but maybe not as important. It's a tricky one. Free hitting in Gameweek 34. In that case, I think I'd go for Haaland, Darwin, and Isak. What do you think about Muniz in attack? Really good this week and some decent fixtures coming up, but I do think Fulham are much better in home matches. I think they could struggle in some of these away games, and I do prefer Cunha and a few other forwards. But in terms of 4.5 to 5 million forwards, there's no better than Muniz. Big up Dylan, hope all is well. Thank you, Safair. Likewise. Anthony says start 1, Saka or Tony. I'll probably go for Tony, but I'm very conflicted. Areola over Dubravka, why? Just because Areola has a better ceiling, a much higher ceiling. With Dubravka, it's very unlikely that benching him will lead to big regrets. He does have the better fixture in terms of he's more likely to keep a clean sheet in this matchup between West Ham and Newcastle. But yeah, Areola is a good penalty saver. He's very good for bonus points and saves. I also think both teams will score. And then it comes down to who makes more saves, who's more likely to get bonus points and have a higher ceiling. And the answer is Areola. Son and Gusto -4? Yes, but it also depends on who you sell. Doughty to Gusto or Bradley for -4 or Wildcard 31? I'd probably take the -4 hit, but once again, without knowing the full context of your team, it's difficult for me to answer definitively. Callum Jr. says, hi Dylan, I have just enough for Dallo to Gusto, De Bruyne to Salah for a -4. However, I won't have Son. Thoughts? You can't cover everybody, unfortunately. But yeah, selling De Bruyne for a -4 here isn't great because he's got a great record against Arsenal. But yeah, overall, I think I'd do it. And it's really the Salah factor. That's what spins it for me. Remzinho says bench 1, Semenyo, Foden, Richarlison. I'd still bench Semenyo. I've been taking quite a long break after 2 frustrating chips usage game week. It is what it is, you know. It's happened a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago as well, and I'm happy it's out of the way. Yeah, should I captain Salah rather than Son? As something different? Well, yeah, if you've got a feeling Salah's going to have a massive fall, go for it. And I personally think Salah's the best captaincy option this week. Start Konsa or Saliba? Konsa. Raiden says, should I sell one of my defenders or roll my transfer? I would look to sell either Doughty or Taylor. And yeah, overall, I think it is worth it. So if you can sell one of them to Van Dijk, just do it. Ake or Mikalenko? I'd probably go for Mikalenko. And yet, Saka should play. Bowen or Bailey to Salah? I mean, they're both sells for me. I'd argue that Bowen is slightly better than Bailey over the next couple. Although for this week specifically, oddly enough, Bailey might be better than Bowen. So it's a difficult call. Bowen's also more expensive, but if you can make it work, I'd sell Bailey and keep Bowen for the next few potentially. It's just really depends on how you're going to go about it. Because what you could do is sell Bowen to Salah this week, and then next week you sell Bailey as well. So if you can do that, that might be the best course of action. Start Cunha or Saka this week? I'd go for Saka. Hey, would you start Garnacho or Foden? Foden. Start Foden or sell Hwang Hee-chan to Gordon and bench Foden? I just start Foden. I like Gordon a lot, but it's, you know, it depends a lot as well. Game week 34, your strategy, are you free hitting or not? If you aren't free hitting, I don't think Gordon is a priority just yet. Since Alisson's not coming back soon, do you think Keller should replace Areola? The thing is with Alisson, there's still a chance he could be back for Game week 34, and that could kind of put your Kelleher plans a little bit in the mud, but Kelleher should pay off. If you're looking to buy a goalkeeper for the next couple of weeks, I think he's got a decent ceiling, so that's fine. It really is. And Areola has no doubles left for the season. Decent fixtures, but yeah, I think it's a decent transfer. I just prefer making a move in terms of outfield players. Other alternative is Saka, De Bruyne for Son, no hits. Yeah, De Bruyne to Son for no hits is fine, but once again, Game week 34 is very important in terms of defining what you want to do. Thank you, Safir. As he says, smash the likes. We are 12 away from 100. Once we get to that, I'll be gifting 5 memberships to viewers. Would you captain Salah or Son? I'd go for Salah as the captain. MH Kauzar says, Darwin and Garnacho or Foden and Manice? I prefer Foden and Manice, but I think Darwin and Garnacho could be quite decent between game weeks 31 to 34. I'd still go for Foden and Manice though. Hi Dylan, do you have some information on Saka and Gabriel? Just what Arteta said yesterday, that both of them and Martinelli have a chance of playing. Dylan, I have no City assets, is scary. Should I get Foden? Can't get to Haaland without multiple hits. I already have Salah and Son. Well, it is Arsenal at home this week, then Aston Villa. You don't need to get them in. I know Foden is a great FPL option. He can haul against anybody, but you can't cover every single player and team. Buying Foden, yes, I'd recommend it in the next couple of weeks, but you don't need to do it right now, in my opinion. Bench 1 is Stupinian, Ake, Gabriel. I'd bench Stupinian. Sefer says Palmer for Hwang and Borro or Gusto for Emerson. Yeah. I think that looks really good. I'd go for Gusto over Borro. And in terms of Game Week 34, not too relevant because both of them don't look great for that game week anyway. Of course, Borro blanks and Gusto faces Arsenal away. Has the fasting affected Salah before? I don't think so. I think during this time last year, Salah scored a brace against... who was it against? He scored a brace away from home against Leeds. He scored against Arsenal at home, and then he blanked against Chelsea. So 3 goals in 3 games, not too shabby. Kelleher or Flecken? Kelleher. Hi Dylan, Salah for Bowen? Yes, no doubts about it. Start Moreno or Saka? Saka. What to do with Kirkes? Tricky situation. He's currently flagged. He was benched in the last game when he was fit, and he's got that double in Game Week 34 and good fixtures. So it's a very difficult scenario to be in. I think if you can sell him for free, I'd probably do it. Start Moreno or Gabriel? I'd go for Alex Moreno. Start Pau Torres or Zabani? Pau Torres. Foden or Garnacho this game week, says Sebastian? Foden. Walker out for me. Is Bradley a good pick with upcoming fixtures or go in on Gusto? Yeah, no, they're both good picks. I prefer Bradley over the next 2, but Bradley might become a bench option or he might become a rotation risk, a heavy one at that, once Trent is back by Game Week 32 or 33. And that's not ideal if you aren't free hitting in 34 and you need Bradley for that double. So from that perspective, a lot depends on your chip strategy, and that's kind of a reoccurring theme throughout this stream. But yeah, I think Bradley is a good pick. He certainly is. If you can buy him this week and then sell him to Van Dijk in a couple once Trent is back, that is definitely fine, and I'd probably recommend that instead. Good to see you, William. Bench 1, we've done. Songeso says, hi Dylan, who should I start? I'd go for Richarlison, but just bear in mind he is a rotation risk this week. Frank O'Brien says, Haaland and De Bruyne to Salah and Manice for a -4. Ooh, I'm not sure about that. I like Salah a lot. Manice is a good option this week, but selling Haaland and De Bruyne for a -4, that's tricky. Wow, I think I'd do it just because you also have Salah in place for next week in 31, but selling Haaland for a -4 is very risky. If you can only choose one, who do you prefer to start, Haaland or Saka? Haaland. Wildcard this week or next, they have a really nice starting lineup this week. Then wildcard next week. If you're really happy with your team now, I'd do that. Yes, free hit in 34. If you're not keen on Region, who do you recommend otherwise? Okay, so you're free in 34. Yeah. Who do you recommend otherwise? If I can find your question again, that might help, because I don't want to repeat, some defenders you mentioned already. I think this is it, right? I think I found it. Yes. Just give me a second. I lost it again. Kind of typical with these chats. Okay, so you've got Leno, Petrovic, Borro, Robinson, Region, Branthwaite, Lascelles. So 8 Nuri would definitely spring to mind. 8 Nuri, Bradley for the time being, Van Dijk. If you can go for Van Dijk, go for him and 8 Nuri. I think that would be the best way to go about it. And I'd also recommend... Oh, no, sorry, you are free hitting in 34. That doesn't really... You don't need to go for those options. But they are good still. They actually are until Game Week 35. Then you could start selling them. Yeah, you know what? They probably still would come into it. And also Gusto. I think Gusto is probably the one. Gusto in for Region. Yeah, that looks pretty solid. And you could also consider one of the other options like 8 Nuri or Van Dijk for maybe Branthwaite or Robinson. Yeah, I think that's what I do. Thank you, Leonardo. Much appreciated. What to do with Pau Torres? Start him this week and sell in Gameweek 31 is probably the best thing to do. Buy Gusto or Van Dijk, heavily dependent on your 34 strategy. If you're free hitting in 34, buy Gusto. If you aren't free hitting, buy Virgil van Dijk. Start Saliba or Doughty. I'd start... You know what? I think I'd start Saliba. I just don't see Doughty getting anything. You have to rely heavily on an attack in return, which you can get, to be fair, but... Yeah, in terms of clean sheet chances, it's going to be Saliba all day long. I might have to make a change in terms of my bench order. Is Doughty to Gusto a good idea? Yes, very good idea. Dylan, will you be making changes? Potentially, Gazno, potentially. I haven't really thought about it much yet, at least since I made the video and, you know, made that team a few days ago. But yeah, it is possible that I will make some changes. It's not fully locked in. Thoughts on getting Diaz on the wildcard? I'm not completely against that. He could be a nice differential for double Gameweek 34. And also, in the next two fixtures alone, you know, I could see a lot of goals and hauls there for Liverpool attackers. But yeah, he's not my favourite midfielder, to be quite honest with you. Welcome, Mohammed. Hopefully everything is well with you too. Do you think Kai Havertz will start? Yeah, I believe so. Need some help starting Zabani, Van Dijk, and three defenders. Should be Ake or Gabriel or Taylor. I'd go for Gabriel. Sorry, I'd go for Ake there, Raiden. I'd favour Ake over Gabriel. Thank you, Dr. Dar. Yeah, we've hit 100 likes, so I'll be gifting 5 memberships in just a few moments. Start Flecken or Areola. I'd go for Areola, although I don't think either of them keep a clean sheet. Wildcarding later, and I'm scrapping my plans and going for something fun. Haaland to Darwin, De Bruyne to Salah, Hwang to Son, bench Saka, all from -8. Can tell support Liverpool. Fair enough. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's about playing it your way and having fun with it. So I wish you the best there. Thank you, Tommy, for the super chat. Massively appreciate to those that sent them in today. Yeah, no free hit, mate. I have Taylor and 0.5 million. So 4.4 million for a defender. Bench Gabriel or Saliba. I'd probably bench Saliba. I think Gabriel has better attacking threat. And get another defender. Yeah. So either Gusto or Bradley. The thing is, with no free hit, you'd ideally go for Bradley or an Nuri, but there are some issues with Bradley, as we discussed earlier. Yes, fair. Just to kind of reiterate, with Bradley, I think he's a great option for the next two. I'm very tempted to buy him. The problem is, when Trent comes back by Gameweek 32, 33, that's when Bradley could drop to the bench. And for Gameweek 34, that isn't ideal. To have a double Gameweek player, he might not even start one of that double. So, yeah, that's the problem with Bradley. But if, for example, Trent suffers a setback, I think Bradley is an incredible option until Gameweek 35. Will Salah play the full 90? I think he will, or close to it. That's my personal opinion. And in terms of the captaincy, Salah's still first for me. Then it's Son, and Palmer's third. But I'm very tempted by Palmer. I think it's a nice differential. That one's covered. Good to have you back, Dylan. Great work as usual. Thank you, John Paul. De Bruyne to Palmer, plus Doughty to Bordeaux, Gusto for a -4. Yeah, as much as I like De Bruyne this week, I'd probably do it for a -4 here. It pays off massively. And if you aren't, if you are free hitting in 34, then I have no problems with buying those players. Which Newcastle defender will play today? I think Trippier will play. Same with Lascelles, Fabian Schär, and probably either Dan Burn or Livramento. Yeah, I think that is pretty much what we're looking at. Would you sell Foden for Luis Diaz? No. Pau Torres or Zabani, who to start? Pau Torres. Sabina says, I took a -8 for Salah, Nunez and Palmer, but no more Haaland. What do you think? Yeah, it's not ideal to... If you sold Haaland as part of a -8 hit, that is, you know, very risky, but the players you're bringing in are really good, especially Salah and Palmer, and Darwin next week could go ballistic, so looks nice. Don't you think it'll be advantage to Arsenal since Walker and Stones are out injured? The thing is, though, Gabriel, Saka and Martinelli are still doubts for the game. I think they will play. At least, I think Saka and Gabriel will start and Martinelli will be on the bench. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just Man City are still at home. They've got the mentality, the experience. I still think they have the advantage and they're the favourites for the game. That's my personal take on it. But you might be right. That does give Arsenal a little bit more of a chance. Will Ake play the full 90? I believe so. And with the problems City have at the back, yeah, I don't see Ake not starting this week. And I could be wrong, but I personally think it'll be a Kanji right back. Ruben Dias and Ake centre-backs, and Gavardio on the left-hand side. Think I'll be wildcarding this week. Could wait another one, but some fixtures like Spurs and Fulham look good. Fair enough. Good luck with your wildcard goalhead. Let me know how you do. And yeah, we'll probably gift 5 memberships right now. Start Saliba or Doughty. I'd go for Saliba. The thing is with Doughty, I think he's got that attacking potential over Saliba. But in terms of clean sheet chances, I mean, I don't think any of them keep a clean sheet. It's as simple as that. It's literally close to 0% chance for both of them for me. That's probably the reason why I've got Doughty ahead in the pecking order, just because of the attacking potential. But I don't trust any of them this week. I really don't. So let's now gift the 5 memberships. Thank you to those that have been supporting the channel. And just to give something back, you get 5 memberships. Well, you get a free membership for an entire month. I'm going to give 5 right now. So we'll see who gets them. So yeah, Matt's Collectibles, Sefer, Goldhead, Tommy Raw, and Callum Jr. Yeah, you've got the memberships there. So hopefully you do enjoy it and all the perks that come with it, including early access to my videos. Mohsen says, do I do Gordon, Douglas Luiz for Palmer, or Senesi to a better defender? As much as I like Palmer, I do like Gordon and Douglas Luiz this week, and I'd rather sell Senesi to a better defender. Now, with Senesi, he's doubling in 34, so he could be useful for you by that stage once he comes back from injury. But yeah, we don't know when that's going to be, so I think I'd sell Senesi. Bradley or Kelleher, who as the third Liverpool? In terms of looking at Alisson and Trent and when they're expected to come back, I think it might be better to go for Kelleher. Now, when they do start, Bradley has the highest ceiling. We saw that he's got the biggest return for any defender this season with that 20-point haul against Chelsea, 21 points, wherever it was. But yeah, in terms of being safer, slightly safer in the long term, I think Kelleher is the one. Selling Watkins on the wildcard is scary. Yeah, I think that's another reason why a lot of people will be looking to wildcard in 31 instead, because of that factor. Thank you, Robber. Although my Spanish today has been a bit poor, and my English is certainly better. William says, also I've hit the wildcard. I've used the free hit. Looking to bench boost in 34. Now, pick your favourite wildcard. Go. Okay, right. In my wildcard videos, I did cover a few scenarios, but not the bench boost in 34, because I pretty much believe that the wildcard is better. Sorry, the bench boost is better in 37. For most people anyway. Wildcard with bench boost and 34 in mind, I'd probably go for Raya and Pickford as your goalkeepers. I'd go for Gabriel, Aït-Nouri, Van Dijk, Munoz, and maybe I'd go for a Zabani. This is really, to have as many double game week players in 34 as possible. For the midfield, I would look at Saka, Salah. I'd still go for Palmer and potentially Heung-min Son. If you want to maybe ditch one of them, that's fine, but I would go for both of them this week. And the 5th midfielder is probably going to be... I'd still go for Foden, but you can go for Diaz instead, for example. As for your forwards, I would go for Solanke, Cunha, and then it's up to you whether you go for Haaland or Watkins, and you can do a bit of a switcheroo in certain positions. You have to book in some transfers, and this is really with, a really stacked bench boost for Game Week 34 in mind. So let me know what you think of that. With FPL Challenge, can you sub out players that have already played with someone on your bench as a transfer? No. It's not like UCL Fantasy. I believe once a player has... once a player has started their game, they are fully locked in and you can't make changes to your bench and your starting 11 in that way. Why Palmer's not the best captaincy option? It's just because Son and Salah are great choices. I mean, they have very favourable fixtures. Salah at home to Brighton, who might have some decent underlying numbers defensively, but they concede so many chances and leak so many goals either way. And then Luton Town have the worst defence over the last 8 game weeks. And also, you look at Chelsea compared to Spurs and Liverpool, they're a worse attack. They're a far more inconsistent team, so there's a few reasons that go behind it. But Palmer, don't get me wrong, is a great option. I'm very tempted by him. If you want to go different, I think Palmer is a very good option for the captaincy. Foden to Son. For this week only, great. Even up until Game Week 33, I'd argue. But yeah, doing such a move might involve a lot of switching around with your midfield. Hwang Hee-chan to Foden, Van Dijk to Bradley for a -4. Yeah. I mean, wait, selling Van Dijk to Bradley for a -4. Sorry, I can't say yes to that. I'd rather do Hwang Hee-chan to Gordon or Palmer. Yeah, I just wouldn't sell Van Dijk for a -4. Bradley might be better for the next two, but not in the longer term. Should I buy Manise instead of Wood and Iwobi to Douglas Luiz? Yeah, I'd say so. And if you can stretch to it phobia, I think Cunha is a great option for the forward line. The thing is with Iwobi to Douglas Luiz, it's good this week, but you'd probably want to sell Luiz by Gameweek 31 or 33. Where's the faith, Dylan? Well, it's just my opinion. You know, I'm not going to fool myself deliberately and be delusional. I mean, Arsenal can win. There's no denying that. I think they've got a better chance than some people expect, but if I'm backing one team, you know, taking my bias aside, I think Man City are more likely to win the game, so that's what I've gone for. Alif says, thanks Dylan, keep up the good work as always, thank you very much, and morning to you as well, Mark Parker. Bench Solanke or Saka? I'm currently benching Saka. Geez, guys, says Zenzone, how serious would you play FPL Challenge? Just for fun. I'm just playing it for fun. I'm not sure if I'll be able to make a video for Gameweek 31 because there's a quick turnaround. I'm traveling and I might not have enough time to get all the content as usual, but I'll try to get the main content out there. And if I'm able to do the deadline stream, I'll probably show you my FPL Challenge team in that video. Manise or Saka? I'd go for Manise this week. Yeah, Goldhead, enjoy the memberships. I think you've got it before as well. Hey Dylan, can you rate my mate's team? Petrovic, Dubravka, Gusto, Bradley, Borro, Gabriel, Lascelles, Sarabia, Salah, Son, Saka, Palmer, Darwin, Haaland, Cunha. I like it a lot, and Sarabia and Cunha are nice differentials, but like, it's a very big nitpick. I'm not sure about doubling up on the Wolves attack. I think one's enough, and Cunha's my preference. But it's still a very solid squad. If this is a non-wildcard team, it looks great. I have to say that. The defense looks particularly good. Yeah, I don't really have many issues with it, but I'd maybe change Sarabia. But honestly, it's a very good squad. Buy Son or Salah? I'd rather buy Salah. I want Salah, but the only way is for a -4 and sell Saka, Foden and Watkins for Salah and Cunha, for example. I wouldn't do it this week because selling Watkins and also one of Saka or Foden, who you'd probably want back very soon anyway, that isn't ideal. So I'd do it for free next week. Yeah, and for example, if you were to sell Saka this week, it might seem fine against Man City, but then it's Luton Town at home next week and a double in 34. So I think the best way to go about it is to buy Salah for free in 31. Omar on top says pick two. Saka and Bowen for me. No worries, Tommy Raw. Hopefully you do enjoy it. Start Saka or Bowen? I would start... I think I'd start Bowen. But I might be very wrong there. Which defender can I buy for Senesi? I have Stupinian, Borro, Zabani, Gabriel. You can buy 8 Nuri, Gusto, Bradley, Van Dijk. My big recommendations would be Van Dijk or Gusto, depending on your 34 strategy when you're using the free hit. Do you think Lascelles is nailed on wildcard 30 or other Newcastle defenders like Shea or Burn? I think Lascelles purely because of the value, and he's going to start every game in Botman's absence, but Shea offers much better goal threat, that's for sure, and he'll get more bonus points. But in terms of just value, I think Lascelles is the one to go for. I would go for Solanke, mate. You can see it on screen as well. Gaurav says, hey, Dylan, I only transferred in Manise. Well, that's fine. I'm just wondering who you sold, but that seems pretty fine to me. Notkish says, hey Dylan, 2 questions. 1, Salah cap or Son? I'd go for Salah. 2, 8 Nuri or Chris Richards for this game week? For this week, I'd say Richards, but yeah, 8 Nuri is a decent FPL option, I have to say that. Morning to you as well, Gary. Gaurav says Burnley is in form and can push harder for the win or draw. I mean, yeah, they beat Brentford, but a lot did kind of... a lot depended on that red card on Region, I think. It could have been a completely different scoreline and game if that wasn't the case. I still think Chelsea win, but they can be very unreliable at times. Pedro, Borro or Udogie? I'd go for the Spaniard. I'd go for Borro if money is no issue. Start Semenyo or Foden? I'd go for Foden. Dogesh puts his wildcard team. Suggestions, please. Benchboost 37. I think Chelsea... I see that Chelsea will concede. Um, I'd go for Bradley over Van Heck, but I've mentioned my concerns about Bradley a few times in the stream. No funds for Darwin, that's fine. I mean, it's not like Darwin's absolutely essential anyway. Your wildcard squad is very solid. I think the only thing I can suggest really is going for Bradley instead of Van Heck, and I'd personally go for another goalkeeper instead of Kelleher, but oddly enough, Kelleher's probably the safer option compared to Bradley, so I can see some of your concerns there. If you have enough funds, I would recommend Van Dijk, but I'm assuming you don't because you have that issue of Darwin Nunez and buying him in. So, yeah, very solid wildcard squad. Not much to really nitpick there. And I'm assuming you are free hitting in... Well, you didn't mention it, but you might be free hitting in 34. If you aren't, you might want to get a few other double Gameweek 34 players in, like 8 Nuri. Chidera puts his team as well. So which one is preferable? Doughty to Gusto or Bradley or Wildcard 31? I'd say Doughty to Gusto. Yeah, Doughty to Gusto or Bradley is probably the best call. You're wildcarding in 31 anyway, aren't you? Wildcard 31. Your squad looks pretty decent, mate, to be honest. I think I'd just make the defender transfer for now and reassess the wildcard when we approach the Gameweek 31 deadline. Yeah, I believe Saka will play. Start Flecken or Areola. I'd go for Areola. Captain Haaland to jinx them. I mean, it hasn't really crossed my mind. I normally do that anyway, but nah, I don't think I'll be captaining Erling Haaland. Hey Dylan, is it worth doing Burn or Region to Gusto with free transfers? Yes, I'd sell Region to Gusto. The doggy or Gusto. This week, I'd go for Gusto. Last question is whether Dalot to Borra for a hit is worth it. Since I have my wild card, I wouldn't take the hit because I personally think Luton Town could score. Okay, we're going to whiz through these now and let's get this stream to 150 likes. And once we do, I'll be gifting another 5 memberships. So we're 34 likes away and we still have, what? Well, not that long now. 22 minutes left until the deadline. So be sure to plug away, get the stream to 150 likes. And yeah, we'll be gifting 5 more memberships for people to have for an entire month. So let's get through these questions. Saka or Bowen? Saka overall, but for this game specifically, I think I'd go for Bowen. Would you play Trippier in FPL Challenge if he starts, or are there better options? I don't have Trippier at the moment. I think he will play. It's not a bad shout, though. A clean sheet against West Ham isn't completely out of the cards, but it's just Newcastle defensively been very poor. I would go elsewhere. I think the likes of Gusto, Bradley, Van Dijk, Borro, Robinson are all better options in terms of clean sheet chances, but yeah, Trippier's not a bad shout. I just think there are better choices. Thank you, Callum, as well. Musin says, which defender can I buy for Senesi? I have Estupinian, Borro, Zabani, Gabriel. I have answered this. I'd go for either 8 Nuri, Bradley, or Gusto. Saka or Foden starting? I'd go for Foden. Bradley for Estupinian or roll the transfer? I'd probably go for Bradley. I wouldn't start Estupinian this week, that's for sure. Start Kudus or Saka? It's so difficult, I think, with this Saka question. You know, I'm a bit less keen on Kudus than I am Bowen, but Newcastle away is a decent fixture for attackers. You know what? I'm going to go for Saka. I'm going to go for Saka and stick to that. I think Saka is the one. Bench 1, Saka, Elanga or Bowen? Actually, bench Elanga there, which might sound crazy. He's got the best fixture. I might be wrong about that, but I think I'm going for Saka. Play Gabriel or Doughty? I'd play Gabriel. It's difficult because, like I mentioned before, in terms of clean sheet chances, they're both next to 0. But Arsenal have a much better defence in general. And then you've got Gabriel's attacking threat from the goals and set pieces. But Doughty, I'd say from open play and also the assist threat, it's far higher than Gabriel. So it goes both ways. -4 taken so far, says Twisted Parky. Fair enough. Yeah, I think there's a few hits going around this week. Not many, but there are some. Twisted Parky puts his team. I think after wildcard. You've got some good players, to be fair, but yeah, I think Doughty's a letdown. Wissa's not ideal. And then, yeah, the bench, I can see why. Yeah. The thing is with Trippier, though, he might even be available, and I'd start him this week over Doughty or Gabriel. And I'd probably start him over Doughty in this case. So yeah, I think you don't need to wildcard just yet, but maybe the time will come very soon. Start 2, Saka, Gabriel, Muniz, Lascelles, Munoz. I would start Muniz and probably Saka still. I captain Salah in FPL, but Son on challenge. I've done the opposite. Hi Dylan, your top 2 keepers on Gameweek 30 wildcard. Heavily dependent on the Gameweek 34 strategy, what chips you have remaining. So I think the best goalkeepers really lie in terms of Petrovic, Onana, Raya, Pickford. I think those are the 4 best goalkeepers, and depending on your strategy, I think that's what ultimately determines the 2 you pick. I sell Haaland for Darwin now. I wouldn't sell Haaland, to be honest with you. I wouldn't sell him. I could see the appeal of Darwin, but I wouldn't buy him for Haaland. I really wouldn't. No leaks on Newcastle just yet, as far as I'm aware. Thank you, Awali, for moderating the chat. Keep or sell Richarlison, and for who? I'd probably keep him. He is available, it looks like, according to Ange Postecoglou, but will he start the game? That is the next question, and I'm not so sure. I would start Pau Torres there. Aitner is the better option longer term, but for this week, I'd go for Pau Torres. What else do we have? Muniz or Wood? I'm on a wild card. Muniz. Rayhan says bench 1, Gabriel, Burns, Zabani. I would bench Gabriel. Robinson versus Bradley. I think this week I'd go for Robinson. Now, who would I rather buy? Probably Bradley, even though he's going to become a rotation risk very soon. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, we have 80 minutes left, so be careful. Be sure to lock in your teams fairly soon. And let's get the stream to 150 likes, like I mentioned. Then I'll be gifting 5 more memberships. All right. Is it worth a -4 to transfer out Foden for Diaz McAllister until 35? I can see what you're doing there, but I personally wouldn't do it. Play Garnacho or Saka. Saka. RY puts his wildcard team. Use free hit already. That's fair enough. I would consider Aitnouri instead of Dallo as one example. You can always buy Dallo around Gameweek 35. The rest of the squad looks really good. I think with Garnacho as well. Trying to think of any alternatives you could go for. Yeah, that's fine. I do prefer Gordon over Garnacho, but it's still a good pick. And overall, I'm very happy with your squad. Cunha over Muniz is another one for double Gameweek 34. Start Kelleher or Neto? I'd start Kelleher. Captain Salah or Son? Salah. Is it worth a -4? Gordon out, Richarlison in to get a Spurs attacker? No. Because Richarlison might not even start the game, and Gordon at home rarely blanks. Only once this season in the Premier League. I wouldn't sell him for a hit. I got Maddison. Should I get Richarlison instead? Just keep Maddison. Play Garnacho or Saka? Saka. Start Odegaard or Saka? I'd start Saka. I'm selling Foden for Saka, Bowen for Palmer, our wildcard 35-36, no free hit left. Yeah, fair enough. I'd go for Saka. Is Maddison a good shout? He is this week, but I wouldn't be looking to buy him in with blank Gameweek 34 in mind and poor fixtures for Spurs from 33 onwards. I think the time to buy Maddison would be Gameweek 35 or 36, depending on when they double. Path says, don't have a wild card. Am I insane to consider free hit this week? I don't have Palmer, Salah, and one in to get a few punts. I can see what you're doing there, but honestly, if you've got the free hit, I'd really recommend using it in 34, 37, especially because you don't have the wild card. Because imagine, use the free hit this week, then you've got one free transfer next week, and fair enough, you can, use your free transfers, over a number of weeks to build your teams for 34 and 37. But I honestly think the free hit is much better used in your scenario in either 34 or 37. I don't have Son or Salah. Who to bring in for De Bruyne? I'd buy Salah. Start Leno or Kelleher? I'd start Leno. Play Saka or Watkins, says Sohib. I'd play Watkins, there's no doubt about it this week. Good luck as well, Wei Sing. Some questions have been answered already. Saka's never scored away versus City. Yeah, of course, there's always a first time for everything. He's in great form. To be honest, I'm not even sure if I'm hoping he doesn't, because I'm kind of conflicted there. But he's currently on my bench. Would you sell Kudus for Gordon? I would. But Gordon is an interesting one because he's got great fixtures, yet your free hit strategy does, influence that a lot. If you are free hitting in 34, then that's fine. Gordon's a great purchase, but otherwise you might just reconsider and go for another midfielder instead. But yeah, kudos for Gordon. I think that's fine. Back-to-back home games for Newcastle, 3 and 4, and Gordon is great at St James's Park. Best captain, Salah for me. It's Salah first, Son second, Palmer third, and Haaland fourth out of those options. Play one of Williams, Doughty, or Soufal. Probably Nico Williams or Soufal is the kind of big debate. I'd probably go for Williams, but not expecting anything. Manice or Wood? Manice. Start Odegaard or Saka, I've covered. No one talking about Szoboszlai. Yeah, sometimes there's these kind of random players, so to speak, that aren't great FPL assets long-term, but they can deliver in that single game week. Black Shadow says, rate my wildcard. Well, it's a solid team. I'm quite happy with it. I'm guessing you're not free hitting in 34, but I might be wrong with that assumption. A few things to kind of note, maybe a few ways to improve it, is Gordon over Garnacho, Cunha over Manice. I'm guessing budget is the reason why you haven't gone for it. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with that squad. I'd also consider another goalkeeper instead of Areola, especially if you have the bench boost available for 34 or 37. I'd go for Salah, as I mentioned a few times. Start one, Iwobi or Wood. I would go for Chris Wood there, Phobia. Captain from Watkins, Palmer, Haaland. Palmer. Watkins will be second in that list and Haaland third. Yeah, I think Watkins is a very underrated option for the captaincy this week. Gabriel Emerson from West Ham. This week, probably Emerson. No worries affair. Chris Barnes says, hi Dylan, had a dream last night that Liverpool went 9-0 up in the first 5 minutes with Salah assisting 8. Surely an omen to captain. Well, that's impossible. Them winning 9-0, maybe not, but I think Brian could put up a bit of a fight. I'm hoping they do. It might be an omen for you. I've had a few kind of FPL or football-related dreams that haven't really turned out right. You know, I once had a dream of, Perisic scoring a bicycle kick and never happened, so who knows? Maybe my dreams are just worse. How would you feel if you won Challenge in one game week? Well, it'd be quite nice, you know, winning something in fantasy for a change. But yeah, I mean, the prizes are decent, I guess. You know, it's a free-to-play game after all. I feel pretty good, I guess. But FPL Challenge is kind of maybe scoffed at by the community. Opinions on Højlund. I like him a lot from Game Week 35 onwards, even from Game Week 33. I wouldn't buy him just yet. Keep Gordon or buy Richarlison. Keep Gordon. Start Garnacho or Gordon. Gordon. There is a chance of early team news, but right now there isn't anything. Twisted Parkeepus is wildcard. Mad but creates an extra transfer. Haaland, Isak, Manice, bench Onana, Saka, not sure who to get or change. So goalkeeper's absolutely fine. I'm quite happy with this team overall. I'm just not sure about your 4th or 5th defender. You've got Gusto Lascelles or Doggy, and I'm not sure who your 4th or 5th defenders are. So yeah, be sure to let me know about that, but the rest of your squad looks great. I don't have many issues with it. There's a few kind of maybe small areas to improve potentially. So you can go for Cunha if you aren't free hitting in 34, as one example. Neto or Areola? Neto this week. Thank you, Punjabi. Aditya says Areola, Raya, Gabriel, Bradley, Estupinian, Trippier, Doughty, Son, Palmer, Garnacho, Foden, Saka, Solanke, Haaland, Tony with 0.5 million in the bank. Should I wildcard? I don't think you need to wildcard this week, but the time could come fairly soon, either 31 or 35, you know, between that period. I don't think I'd wildcard this week with your setup. James says start 3 of Saliba, Lamptey, Van Dijk, Burn, Bell, and can you please suggest some transfers? I would start Van Dijk, Burn, and I'd make one transfer and probably sell Bell to 8 Nuri, Gusto, or Bradley. And I think in your case, it's probably best to go for Gusto. Or 8 Nuri. I'm free hitting in 34. Fair enough, Twister Parky. Yeah, your squad looks pretty good, actually. Just kind of thinking here. Yeah, that explains the Onana and Petrovic doubles in 37. That's absolutely fine. Is Keller playing? Yeah, he is playing. We don't know when Alisson's going to be back. Who knows? It could just be 1 week. Suddenly, Alisson's very close to returning. We just don't know. Yeah, Phobia, as I mentioned earlier, I'd start Chris Wood. Is Salah differential enough to not captain? He's not going to be a massive differential. In terms of engaged managers, I think a lot of people will captain him, but maybe overall, for FPL players worldwide, yes, I think Salah captain will give you quite a decent green arrow if you horse. I wish I could get him in for free, but because I can't, I'm going to wait another week. On wildcard, Maddison or Foden? Foden for me. I may bench Saka or Semenyo. I'd bench Semenyo. I'll quit FPL if Gordon scores a hat-trick and Salah gets a red card. It's just not going to happen. And as good as Gordon is at home, he rarely gets more than one attacking contribution. He tends to get one goal and a few bonus points. I'm hoping he does something like that at least. Solanke versus Manice, Solanke for me. The double in 34 already swings it his way. Better fixtures beforehand, and Solanke, I think he's a bit more reliable, I'd argue. Although recently, Manice has been incredible. Start Saka or Douglas Luiz, I'd go for Douglas Luiz this week. Start Saka or Alvarez, I'd go for Saka. Start Lascelles or Aït-Nouri, I'd go for Lascelles. Used wildcard, have Salah and Haaland again, let's go. Fair enough, yeah, enjoy it. A bit envious there. Grigol says, which content creators do you like to listen to more than others, and who do you think is close to your decisions? I don't really listen to many, if any at all. Back in the day, I used to listen to FPL Tips, kind of one of the OG FPL creators. Planet FPL is a good one, Black Box, and there's a few other good ones in there, FPL Juice. Those are kind of my favorites, I think, but apart from that, I don't really engage with FPL content creators. I try to kind of focus on my own stuff and have my own opinions and not be influenced by what other people are doing. I see you're benching Saka, Dylan. Would you not play Saka over Foden or Gordon? No, I wouldn't. I think there is a debate between him and Foden in that matchup, but Gordon at home to West Ham, I'm going to start him. Start Richarlison or Gordon? I'd still go for Gordon, but Richarlison's ceiling is very high if he starts, but that's the big if. 5 Liverpool in challenge game is going to playing it for fun. Yeah, that's the way to play, I think. Some people might be taking it a bit too serious. Yeah, I'm not going for 5 Liverpool. I think I'm going for 3 at the moment. That could certainly change, though. Happy Easter to you as well. Animac, bench Saka or Semenyo? I'd bench Semenyo. Pickford or Areola? I'd start Pickford this week. Start Saka or Gordon? I'm going for Gordon. Would you start Alvarez for Solanke? Yeah, I would. Play Onana or Petrovic this week? I'd play Petrovic. Morning Dylan, start Saka or Morris? I'd start Saka. Start Pau Torres or Zabani? I'd start Pau Torres. Hey Dylan, Areola or Dubravka? I'm going for Areola. Play Burn or Ake, says Yusuf. I'd play Burn. I think Liverpool sometimes struggle against Brighton, but Liverpool will want to avenge their last game at Old Trafford. Yeah, and Liverpool rarely drop points this season. They've been very consistent. They rarely lose games as well, and the fact it's at Anfield, it's almost certain they'll win. It's just, I'm hoping they don't win by too much. Why are you playing Dubravka? Well, I'm playing Areola over Dubravka. And the reason is because of the high ceiling. I think both teams concede, and then it's down to who can get more saves and bonus points, and I believe it will be Areola. Defense is Gabriel, Udogi, Gusto, Lascelles, was Dallo, but now getting a Nana. Yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't double up on United defensively, as good as Dallo is as an individual option. Ake, Walker, or another? Well, Walker's out, according to Pep Guardiola. Probably Ake is the one to go for. Yeah, I said to bench Semenyo. Starting Gordon ahead of Saka? Yes. I heard Alisson might be back by April end. Yeah, that makes Keller a good option for the next couple of weeks, but who knows? Some things can change very quickly. Saka or Tony? Yeah, as I mentioned before, I think I'd just about go for Tony, but might be wrong. Is Saka not starting? I think he is starting. We don't have any news and nothing confirmed. Arteta said that there's a chance he'll be available. Same with Gabriel and Martinelli. Start Gabriel or Stupinian? I'd go for Gabriel. Fulham tend to play better at home. Much better at home. I think they're 8th best in home matches, and away from home, they're very inconsistent to say the least. Play Saka or Manice? I'd go for Manice. Baldock to Bradley and bench Saliba or roll transfer and start Saliba? I'd do Baldock to Bradley. Best replacement for Walker? I would probably say... I mean, Ake's a like-for-like is decent, but I'd be looking at one of those kind of 3 I've mentioned all stream. Van Dijk, Aït-Nouri, Bradley, Gusto. I think any of those 4 is absolutely fine, and a lot depends on your Gameweek 34 strategy. Play Saka or Garnacho. I'd play Saka, and I'd go for Salah, captain. FPL Challenge is legit. How would you love your team to be for that game week if you had your way? Yeah, fair enough. That is true. I mean, at least for this week, because remember, we won't have unlimited budget every single week. Next week, it will be forward scoring double the number of points. Newcastle posted a photo of Tino. Potentially new clams, but it could also be Livramento playing as a left back. Or even Trippier left back. I wouldn't rule that out, so I'm not entirely sure. Hey Dylan, happy Easter. Likewise, Nick. I got Salah and Isak out, Saka, Haaland. You might want Saka back by Gameweek 31, especially if you don't have the free hit, and Haaland by Gameweek 33, you probably want to get him back as well for that Luton fixture. But yeah, Salah and Isak for now look great. The thing is with Isak, can he stay fit? I'm not entirely sure, but if he can do, it's a good option. Yeah, I'm sure about Saka over Odegaard. So that covers that question as well. Son or Palmer captain? I'm currently going for Son. I'm very tempted by Palmer though, really tempted. Which Fulham midfielder would you consider? Probably Andres Pereira, who's played a bit more advanced in recent games. Start Saka or Morris? Saka, and I'd go for Salah, captain. Play 1, Gabriel, Saliba or Doughty? Gabriel. Adimac says, chasing rank, took a -8 to bring in Salah, Gusto and Garnacho. I've got Donna's captain. Took a -8. I've seen a few -8s flying around this week, which is quite surprising. Maybe the FOMO of missing out on Salah's, kind of repeating myself, FOMO of Salah's real. Yeah, I can understand that. Good transfers in. I think Garnacho for a -8 is a bit, I'm a bit iffy about that, but the other two look great. Son or Palmer captain? I'm going for Son right now. Would you prioritise going for Palmer instead of Elanga or Gusto instead of Region? I would prioritise Palmer instead of Elanga, but it depends on who you're starting in the defence and midfield this week. Start Kelleher or Leno and Gabriel, Doughty or Kirkes. I'd start Leno and I would go for... I'd start Kirkes just in case and have Gabriel first on your bench. And I do prefer Gabriel over Saliba as well because of the attacking potential. Szoboszlai or Palmer? Palmer. Best 3 forwards for the bench boost in 37. Højlund, Isak and Haaland. Happy Easter to you as well. Saka or Bowen? Saka. I'm going to stick with Saka. I'm going to stick with that for the rest of the stream in terms of Saka versus West Ham attackers. Play Palmer or Douglas Luiz? Palmer. Bowen or Douglas Luiz? Douglas Luiz this week. Gusto 8 Nuri. I would go for Gusto. Now, if you're free hitting in Gameweek 34, Gusto is certainly the one, but if you aren't free hitting in 34, 8 Nuri will double whilst Gusto faces Arsenal away. That could then swing at 8 Nuri in that scenario, but I personally prefer Gusto if that isn't an issue. Have a great Easter as well, Gary. So, Courage, the way it works in terms of quadruple points is very simple. So, every single week there's a new challenge for FPL Challenge. So, this week we have unlimited budget like the Limitless and UCL Fantasy, and next week it will be every single forward scores double the number of points. In terms of quadruple points, it's just simple. If you captain a forward, they will have quadruple the number of points. It'll be bigger than a triple captaincy, for example. Then in Gameweek 32, you can get quadruple points from Liverpool or Man United players because the week is called Red Rivalry. So any Man United or Liverpool player scores double the number of points. That's Son captain. Yep. I think it is for a lot of us, which is a bit boring. Late arrival, but Trippier spotted now. Yeah. Eddie Howe said that, you know, before the international break, he was hoping for Trippier to be back by Gameweek 30. So let's wait and see. Start Doughty or Gabriel? I'd go for Gabriel. Did Solanke and Bradley for Senesi and Alvarez -4. Fair enough. Good transfers. I wish you the best. Start Kelleher or Leno and Gabriel, Doughty or Kirkes. I covered this. Leno and I'd go for Kirkes. That's pretty much it. We've got 15 seconds left. Douglas Luiz or Gordon? I would go for Douglas Luiz this week, but both of them are very good. If possible, start both. Trippier is there. Breaking news. All right. Thank you, Gary. When to get Palmer in, if not now? Gameweek 31, I'd say. You know, he's a really good option. And that is it. That is the deadline all done and dusted. Thank you to those that have tuned in today. And let's get the stream to 150 likes. We are 6 likes away. Be sure to do so, and we'll be gifting 5 memberships to random viewers. It will be randomly allocated, and you will gain it for an entire month. I would captain Salah, Yusuf. I have Salah, but captaining Son. Good luck, LFC. Covered that. Bench Saliba or Branthwaite. I would have benched Saliba. Douglas Luiz or Gordon. I would have started Douglas Luiz, but ideally both. Play Richards or Aït-Nouri. I would have gone for Richards. Saka or Foden wildcard. Saka. Thank you, Syed. Yeah, we are fully locked in. No worries, Courage. Look, in terms of FPL Challenge, there's a few things that people aren't entirely sure about. For example, I saw people mentioning the loopholes where you could basically start with these early kickoff players, have them on your bench, and if they haul, you then transfer out players in your starting 11 to red flag players, so then auto subs take place, but I don't think that's going to work. Thank you, Twisted Parky. I know Salah will blank, I just know. Well, I hope he does, I really do, but good luck to you, especially since you captain him. Good luck as well, Sidindra. Thoughts on my wildcard for the bench boost in 34. Pickford, Raya in goal. Richards, Aït-Nouri, Gusto, Bradley, Gabriel. Son, Saka, Palmer, Salah, Sarabia, Watkins, Haaland, Solanke. Very solid stuff. I'm guessing Watkins would become Cunha or someone like that in Gameweek 31 or 33. Yeah, I like the wildcard squad. It looks pretty good for Gameweek 34. I'm just thinking, so for the bench boost in 34, the big problems would be Gusto, Bradley if he doesn't, if Trent comes back and he becomes a rotation risk. I'd also say Watkins, although it's not really a big issue, is it? Yeah, I think you're fine. That looks like a good bench boost as well. Something a bit different because the vast majority of people will be bench boosting in 37 instead. Let's have a convo. Okay. I'll quickly go through my predictions in Gameweek 30. So Newcastle versus West Ham. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Newcastle. Bournemouth versus Everton. Wow, that is a difficult game to predict. You know what? I'm going to go for a 1-1. Chelsea versus Burnley. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Chelsea. Nottingham Forest Crystal Palace. I'm probably going to go for another 1-1. Sheffield United versus Fulham. I'm going to go for 2-1 Fulham. Spurs versus Luton Town. I'm going to go for 4-1 Tottenham. Aston Villa Wolves. This is a close one as well. I'm probably going for a 2-1 Aston Villa. Brentford Man United. I might be going for another draw here. 1-1. Liverpool versus Brighton. Yeah, I think I'm going for a 3-1 Liverpool. And finally, Manchester City versus Arsenal. Probably 2-1 Man City. So, if I actually think about it, I haven't predicted any clean sheet, have I? So, there's probably going to be a clean sheet or two in there. It's just about which one. I'm hoping the players I have are the ones who get it. But yeah, that's roughly my predictions. They're open to change. I'll try to put them in the Discord server after the stream is done. But yeah, those are my predictions for Gameweek 30. Let's see our progress as well. So yeah, we're 3 likes away from 150. Be sure to plug away, get this to 150, and you know the drill. We'll be gifting another 5 memberships once that takes place. And actually, very quickly, before I go back to your questions and comments, I'm going to give a huge shout out to all the patrons and channel members for helping this channel grow even further. So I'm going to do that in just a second. So a big shout out goes to Phobia Isak TV, Ventislav, Nothama, Exotic Log, David, Rishi, Gabriel R, Unruly DMV, Tiggy Taylor, Mauro Rodriguez, Amandavar, Jazabi, Farhad, Pablo Cordero, Lavenier, Joao Cabral, Simon Spears, Ulysses, Kat, Desti, Beercan, That Air, FPL Eric, George Popescu, Alex, Gabriel Fernandez, John Granquist, and also to Nikhil Patil, Alex Orlov, Andres Suarez, Luis Alexander Pirella, Lovrozovic, Rodrigo Urias, and Federico Caliso. A massive shout out to all the channel members and patrons. You can check out the links in the description below, patreon.com/DylanRCM, and also the join button on YouTube. And I'll be gifting 5 memberships right now for free, and you'll be gaining it for an entire month. We just hit 150 likes, so thank you very much to those that have done so. And now is the moment of truth. So good luck. Hopefully you are, well, obviously not everyone can get it, but I do wish everyone the best of luck for gaining these memberships, and we'll see who got them in the end. So, Gary, Tustapaki, Olsen, Weiseng, and Zenzone. So a few new names in there. I think Zenzone and Olsen are first-time members, and maybe Gary as well, who is a long-time viewer of the channel too. Like the stream, so thank you, Gary. Nice haircut, Dylan. All the best for Gameweek 30. Thank you. Yeah, my barber is one of the best in the business, I'll say. Although my friends will probably say otherwise because they like to chat nonsense. I'll regain what I lost in the last 2 weeks, says Wei Seng. I wish you the best with that, and there's still plenty of time to go, although time is moving very quickly, and all these doubles and blanks are just slipping by. But Gameweek 28 was quite good for me. Gameweek 29 was a completely different story. Adamak says, thanks for the advice, mate. I've got bench boost and wildcard left. What's the best strategy to use these, chasing rank 2? I think for a lot of people, and what I'm looking to do, is to wildcard in 35, bench boost in 37, but you can play a bit differently. Some teams might require wildcard earlier, but then you might be looking to bench boost a bit earlier in 34 instead. But I think 35 wildcard, 37 bench boost is probably best for most people watching. Time to the challenge, no manual subs, so have to change. Yeah, that is true. We'll actually go to FPL Challenge right now. So we've got another deadline, which is on Sunday, the 31st of March at 2 p.m. UK time. So for those of you that aren't aware, the way the deadlines work is, so long as there are 2 games remaining within a single game week, you can still make changes for your unlocked players. And what does that mean? Once a player's match starts, they become locked in, and once there is only 1 match remaining within a game week, that is the final deadline. You can't make any changes in terms of captaincy, bench order, making transfers, any of that. So you need 2 games left within a game week to still be able to make changes, and that's why the deadline for FPL Challenge is on Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time. How does substitutions work in Challenge? How do substitutions work? So I believe auto subs take place. I did see something where, and this is where it combats the early kickoff stuff, where, for example, if you've got, let's say, Gordon and Trippier on your bench, they haul, and you want them to come into your starting 11, you go for some red flag players in your starting 11. I do believe that some things do become locked in that way. So in terms of substitutions, how do they work? I think it's the same as FPL. Auto subs do take place, but I'm going to have to double check that. That's one area I'm a bit unsure of. Likelihood of Spurs, Chelsea and Fulham clean sheet. I'd say they're 3 are the most likely, especially Chelsea and Fulham. I think Chelsea are ranked highest amongst a lot of algorithms this week, and also the odds and the bookmakers, they also put them top. I know the deadline has passed now, but I did Foden to Salah for free. Would have been worth it to do Morris to Darwin for a -4 and then bench Saka for Darwin. I would have just gone for Saka, even though Man City away is a tough fixture. He probably won't score many points. Yeah, I think that's the right call. Darwin scores for Easter Joy. Yeah, I'm not sure if it'll be Easter Joy for me, because I don't have him. Well, I do in FPL Challenge, but that's another story. Do we get to sub in already played players who haven't played yet? No, you can't make substitutions that way. It's only auto subs. So I think that's the way it works. So that's why people are looking to exploit the game that way through the manner I described a few minutes ago. I'm not sure that will work, though. I believe that won't be allowed to take place. What do you do to recover from a flu or cold? Well, taking a lot of vitamin C is a very basic thing. You know, eating oranges, tangerines. And there's also these kind of multivitamin tablets, which are very useful. Sometimes also the vitamin C tablets, which you put into a glass of water. All of that is very useful. Not to mention, one thing I find is drinking tea with honey and ginger. I know some of you might be like, ugh, but it's actually pretty good. So yeah, and you can even add lemon to it as well. And then of course you've got stuff like salt, which you can use to maybe, if you've got a sore throat or something, you can use that. Yeah, there's a few different things. I'm definitely not an expert or medical professional, but yeah, I've had quite a few flus in the last couple of years for some reason, more than usual. And yeah, that's kind of what I look to do. If you have no free hit chip left, which differential players would you target? Eze, Cunha, Højlund, Elise, Gusto, Van Dijk, Darwin, Branthwaite, White, Odegaard, Havertz. They're all good, mate. They honestly are. The ones I've recommended in the stream a lot are Cunha, Gusto, and Van Dijk. So those would be 3 of the best ones. And you know, they all double in different weeks. So for some of them it's 34, others will be 37, and there's the odd one that could double in 35 or 36 like Gusto. The ones I'd recommend the most from those are Eze, Cunha, Højlund, Gusto, Van Dijk, and probably White. Those would be my favourites, but that's kind of over half of who you mentioned. Yeah, I think they all are really worth it. And first off, you've got to focus on the Game Week 4 doublers. So Højlund doesn't become a factor until Game Week 3 and beyond, in my opinion. Let's see, by the way. Oh, that's fine. Okay, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, let's see what people are saying about the memberships. Here we go. It's me. Good live stream video. Thank you, Enoch. Missed. Yeah, sorry, Durgish. Like I said, I just click a button and then YouTube randomly allocate it. So yeah, congratulations to Twisted and to Gary. Watkins will become Darwin in 31. Plan is keeping Palmer for bench boost and bringing in Dallo, Branthwaite for either Bradley if I need to, and Son to Eze. I'm free hitting in Game Week 37. There will be tons of rotation. Yeah, that's fair enough. You could be right about that, but some teams will still have something to play for, which could also maybe mitigate a little bit of the benchings and rotation. And I'm hoping that's the case in my scenario. First and 4 mini leagues. That's good, Gary. Keep it up. Thank you, Zenzone, and hopefully you enjoy it as well. Are you worried about Darwin's yellow cards? Yeah, that's also another factor. A bit like Jackson, who's, you know, 1 yellow card away from suspension. I think Darwin needs 2 more, and he's suspended for 2 games. Same with Anthony Gordon. So, yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning when looking to buy these players in. But Darwin in general, the thing that puts me off is his finishing, and he does pick up a lot of knocks, and he does miss out certain game weeks as a result. No worries, New Clams. A pleasure to talk to you. I can't believe I have free Chelsea. Lol, damn FPL making me do this. Yeah, well, they've got the 2 doubles later in the season. You've got the 3 and 34, so it does make sense. Poe Collector says, bought in Salah and Gusto for a -4 in place of Bowen and Doughty. Salah captain as well. Good stuff. I have no objections with those transfers and captain, so good luck there. Thanks, brother Dylan. Enjoy the game week likewise, and enjoy the Easter holidays. Would you consider Diaz instead of Nunez? Yeah, for sure. And Diaz has been in great form recently, and he's actually played quite often. Tea with honey and ginger is something I drink often too. That's good. I don't, to be honest, only when I'm ill or when I'm beginning to feel it. Is this your challenge team? Yes, it is. It's what I discussed in yesterday's challenge video. Newcastle lineup in 20 minutes. Okay. No guarantees I'll still be streaming by then. We have covered everything. I'll go for a few more questions and comments and then look to wrap up. Okay, thanks for the cold flu advice. No worries. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I have had a few in the past. I think we all have. Cold, hot, toddy, plenty of fruit. Yeah, fruit is obviously a very good one. No dairy. Vitamin tablets, steam baths. Yeah, steam baths is another great suggestion that I didn't say. That's a good one. I wanted Darwin, but yellows, and also won't play all the next 4. Yeah. And a congested fixture schedule for Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City. Yeah, I gave my predictions a few minutes ago. I went for 2 on Man City. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Welcome, Beardy. Good to see you. Would you put Morris or Zabani first on the bench? I put Zabani first on the bench. Ways to boost your immune system. I think also some of those methods apply, you know, so just including vitamin C and multivitamins into, you know, your everyday life. Plenty of exercise is also very important. Not to mention, I'd say, yeah, the occasional ginger, honey, I think, and lemon, all very useful as well. Blueberry, says Lager. That could be a great shout too. Was Palmer captain too crazy? Not really. I was very tempted by it. I might even captain him in this game, for example. I want to get Odegaard for Game Week 34, but might have to transfer Foden out. More than I like to. Yeah, that could be an issue against Crystal Palace and Luton Town. But, for example, when I'm looking to buy a double Game Week 34 midfielder, Foden could make way for me. And then I wildcard him back in 35. So, look, you can't have the perfect team and scenario and cover every single player you want every single week. But, yeah, I probably would stick with Foden in that scenario. And you could always, you know, buy Odegaard, buy Game Week 34. So if you start Foden by Game Week 34, you sell him to Odegaard. And if you have the wildcard, you wildcard him out. What website do you use for predicting price changes? Fantasy Football Hub. And I have to say, they're very reliable. I'm not sponsored by them, but they are very reliable with that algorithm. Thank you, Beardy. It's good to see you as always. And yeah, good luck with your FPL team. I know you're doing very well this season. And thank you to those that sent in super chats, that liked the video, and also all the chummers and patrons. A massive shout out goes to all of you. If you haven't already, smash the like button, and subscribe for new. Let's get this stream to as close to 200 likes as possible, and let's keep on pushing towards 23k subscribers and beyond. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, the FPL League, Drafthound, and check out the links to my Spotify and Amazon Music, and leave a 5-star review on those podcasts. It'd be massively appreciated, as always. And yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you for the past 2 hours. I mean, time really does fly when you're having fun. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL fantasy content. I will be on holiday this weekend, but the plan is still to get the main content out there for FPL and UCL fantasy. Take care, enjoy the football. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 30 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.